W239BF Rochester, the sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Obviously, a whole lot of talk about the NCAA tournament, and we're waiting on Shohei. Got thoughts on the NFL, owners' meetings, and more.
The NFL has banned the hip drop tackle.
We got a raw deal.
Will Clapp is the offensive lineman they had, and Austin Johnson is the defensive lineman that they had.
Daquan Jones!
He has to wear the same suit and socks and shoes, and yes, the same Red Dragon underwear.
Mike Danger.
I don't believe in jinxes. I don't believe in that nonsense. I don't know how you are. I know we can be superstitious, but I don't believe in jinxes.
No. Gene Battaglia.
The Tigers are the champions of Atlantic Hockey!
RAT is set to take on Boston University.
Go time.
Final score from the Blue Cross Arena. Rochester Americans 4, Utica Comets 1.
Let's go, Buffalo! Here come the Buffalo Sabres!
And the Sabres pick up a 4-1 victory.
Let's get ready for opening day.
Let's go, Mets. Go Braves.
Caitlin Clark is back on the floor tonight.
We're back.
They just shouldn't cover basketball.
So I get my my beef Wellington.
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Hey! Welcome on into the Sports Bar. You found Rochester's only local sports talk show, Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us. 95.7 FM, AM 950. The free-to-download Odyssey app and our stream. You can watch the Sports Bar, the Fan Rochester YouTube channel, also streaming at the Fan Rochester on Twitch. I'm Danger. That's Battaglia.
I always know it's a Monday because whenever I come in on a Monday.
What do you think happens in here on the weekend when we're not here? Like, who comes into the Sports Bar and completely, like, the Gremlins?
It's Joe Capogreco and the Italian Carousel. But
They're just so rowdy. They come in here and it's just... You know, it's Joe and Mike and Teddy Bianchi, and they come in here and they just start, it's a party every Sunday morning. The cameras are all askew.
There's still CDs sitting over there. Like, who has CDs? But these are, from Italy.
The finest. Okay, so we're all squared away on the stream. Looks like it's good. Oh, we have a third camera set up for the stream today as well.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, Gino.
Well, because I saw him down at the Policini this week, Mike Rotolo. Greece's finest, Danger, starting goaltender for the Tigers last time they were in the tournament.
Of course he was the starting goaltender when they made the tournament.
Why?
Because he's Italian!
He's got opinions. He's a character, dude. You've never met Dirty Mike.
We've had him on before.
Yes.
We've had him on before.
But he's coming in studio
Can't
today,
wait. That's going to be great. And we got a lot to talk about here from what happened this weekend at RIT, but we'll also talk a little bit about what happened with your brackets this weekend. Ryan Horvath of BetMGM tonight is going to stop by the Sports Bar here in about 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, so we are down to the Sweet 16 if you want a little additional action here. And yeah, what did we learn here? What can we file away for next year?
We know nothing is what we learned. Anybody who says they know, anybody who claims to be an expert, why do we have Ryan Horvath in? Because he might know just a fraction more. He might just have a better sense by looking at those Vegas lines as to which direction the Sweet 16 might fall.
Yeah, so here are the things I was wrong on. Have you not watched the ACC? This
terrible conference. Overrated conference. How many ACC teams in the Sweet 16?
4.
Oh, a quarter of the field.
Yeah,
okay,
that's
good.
Yeah, that's really good. And then, Mike Danger. I love how I'm giving myself like the fat jolly man here. Mike Danger, did you see Auburn top 10 in KenPom in offense and defense?
Everybody loved Auburn. Everybody loved Bruce Pearl. Everybody loved Auburn. And I loved them too. Look, I watched, this is me showing how much of a degenerate I can be. I actually watched the Ivy League final. I was on my dad run on the treadmill in the cave, and I'm watching the game because it was the only thing that was live that was on. And I would normally not care about who wins between Yale and Brown, but Brown was kind of a surprise team to end up in the Ivy League final. I don't think they even had a winning record. And Brown almost beat Yale. Like, Yale needed every second and a last-second field goal to win the Ivy League championship. So I'm like thinking to myself, Yale. I mean, I know that every year we always pay attention to the Princetons or the Yales or whatever Ivy League school makes it into the tournament, because I think Princeton in years past has served as a bit of an upsetter. And I'm like, that team, no way they beat Auburn.
They beat Auburn.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Nobody knows anything, man. Nobody knows anything.
No, well, it clears the path a little bit here for UConn. I mean, I guess you have
so much
State.
easier
Yeah.
path. So much easier path for UConn. Yeah. So Ryan will join us. We'll discuss the Sweet 16. We'll look ahead to this weekend's action. And he'll be stopping by here in about 20 minutes or so. You're welcome to join us anytime at 866-4FAN. Our phone number is 866-4326. We're also on Elon's Twitter. That's X. At the Fan Rochester, if you'd like to engage with us in that space. The table is set. Where do we start? Let's start with close. Let's stay close to home because, Saturday night, I imagine for you and everybody that was at the Gene Paulicini Center, a sold-out barn. I mean, that is RIT now has a new banner to hang next year. That had to have been an exhilarating night. Walk us through it. Paint a picture.
Yeah, I mean, there were people tailgating out there in the morning getting ready for it. So many people were there that the gates were said to open at 5:30. They actually opened them up 15 minutes just to get them all in. So there was the corner crew, the student section, well an hour before the game. Everybody all filled up. So we're like, it felt right. And just watching the game kind of unfold, it's 2-2, and I never thought for a second, like, no, they're going to be fine here. And we'll talk to Mike Rotolo next hour, but the goaltender for AIC was giving up big rebounds. It was only a matter of time, and sure, the score ended up being 5-2. Two were empty net goals at the end. And the prize for RIT Danger is they get the number 2 team in the nation. Some would say the number 1 team, except they did not win Hockey East. That being Boston University, and Boston University led by a 17-year-old that many think will be the number 1 overall pick in the draft.
And you have to go to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, the heartland.
That's the part where I think college hockey's kind of trailing college basketball, because if you are one of the top seeds, why is Boston University having to go across the country? Why is Denver, another top team, having to go to Springfield?
Denver got screwed.
Yeah.
Denver, out of all the teams, all the 1 seeds, Denver has the biggest gripe. Denver is a 1 seed that has to travel to Springfield and basically play against the worst seeded team, the last team in, if I'm not mistaken, in UMass, in what is essentially a home game for UMass.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason here that this is all jumbled up, because if you are the host school, for those who don't know, whenever you see whether you're in Pittsburgh or Indianapolis, you need a host school, meaning the staff has to be there. You have to have the infrastructure. The host school, though, in college basketball, and they changed this a number of years ago, cannot host. All right, that kind of makes sense here. If you're going to be...
The host school can't participate in that region, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yeah. So you have to kind of move them all out. And for Syracuse, the 1 year they won the national championship, they caught a little bit of a break because, if you remember, they opened up down the road in Albany. So that was not that far a drive. An hour and a half, 2 hours for
But I also think that if you're a 1 seed, you deserve that. You've earned that. You should have something closer in proximity to you.
Well, right. So here's UMass, and they're the host school, and they get in, and they're in Springfield, Mass, and that's in the heart. So as a 4 seed, and again, there's only 16 teams, they host Boston University, sent on the road. And to make it even weirder here, Danger, all right, so they're doing that for ticket sales, fine. Explain to me why there's a site in suburban St. Louis with a rink that seats 2,500.
It's the practice facility for the St. Louis Blues. That's correct, right? I believe that's what it is.
I'm stunned. And to make matters worse, one of the teams that got seated there, North Dakota.
This is what I grew up on. Yeah. So let me tell you about North Dakota hockey, okay? About fans of the University of North Dakota's hockey program, because that was the only hockey that I consumed that was, not professional, but it felt like a professional atmosphere. Yeah. You go to the Sioux games, and it was that kind of vibe, that kind of atmosphere. It was awesome, and it hasn't left me. By the way, like I always want to know where they play, because I know that fan base travels well. I live there. It's all they have. It's all they have. give it to them. Let them have it. It is all they have. So, and it's all they have. They have an immense source of pride for teams that have won championships in the past, teams that have made it to Frozen Fours, the amount of pro players in the NHL that have come from the University of North Dakota. When you really look at it, you could probably look at every franchise and find at least one guy that has some ties to that program in some way, shape, or form. So they have the immense source of pride. My long way of me saying, I don't know that there's a college program that travels as well as the University of North Dakota.
Because everybody from North Dakota wants to be out of North Dakota.
Oh, yeah, we want to get out of North Dakota, and we want to see our guys who become great role models for our kids.
It's just awesome.
What made it so awesome?
Just being here. Being away from North Dakota, for us to be here, it's just great.
And to get to see Carson Wentz?
Yes, he's awesome. Such a role model for our kids and grandkids.
I'll double down and I'll say this. If, the University of North Dakota hockey program is one of the elite programs in all of college hockey. Right down the road from the University of North Dakota, about an hour south, is North Dakota State University, famous for being the school that Carson Wentz went to, right? And they've, for years, been dominant as an FCS college football program. University of North Dakota can't touch them. So they've got the football program. UND has the hockey program. So they just have this immense source of pride that they have something that North Dakota State doesn't have, which is a hockey program. They both have football programs, NDSU's being more. So there's a long way of me is saying that this is, and when you watch NDSU football games, by the way, when you see them in the FCS championship, when you see the pan of the crowd, it's not students, man. There's no students showing up. It's all the people who have the money, enough money in the town to travel to down south to Texas to see the championship game. It's all old people. Yeah. It's all people that have pride in their community and pride in being from Fargo or from Grand Forks, North Dakota. They will travel, and it's unfortunate that they capped it at, what is this arena seat?
2,500.
2,500. Are you kidding me? You could have gotten at least 5,000 University of North Dakota fans to go to a game.
What is that? That's the Iceplex, right? It's like what are we doing here with that? The other sidebar here too, and it's not official, but wow. And I said this last week. Could we get events like this in Rochester? Once upon a time, we did have the regionals here. It was only 1 year, and RIT was not in it. Well, I'm hearing chatter that RIT is going to put in a bid here at some point for the regionals, which, if that's true, Danger, this would coincide with the program now on the upswing. Could you imagine if RIT was in it? Not only that, but as the host school playing here. You want to talk about a sellout there. Yeah, they do it for the Brick City, so that would make sense. And,
yeah.
So congratulations to Wayne Wilson, great friend of the show, great friend personally, and to his staff, Brian Hills, Dave Insulaco. That was it was just a great time out there. And it was an honor to call that game.
Well, yeah, you guys crushed it. I mean, everything about it. And I know Kevin Roach was a part of the pregame presentation. I saw it cross my feed on Facebook. I'm like, let's watch my guys for a little bit here. You guys do a great job. And the call was fantastic. You heard a little bit of it there in our open produced by the bounty hunter of the finest audio in the galaxy, the Dandalorian. You let it breathe, man. You gave a great call for the end of the game, and then you let the audience kind of have their way. You let it breathe, which I appreciate. You didn't insert yourself where you need.
No, we're just narrators. Like, the story is everybody throwing their sticks and gloves up into the air. We got time to.
The pictures did a lot of talking, but the audio also does a lot of talking. I mean, that place was rocking when they won that game.
It's the first time I've called a game where I didn't hear a whistle. In fact, I wasn't the only one. So, there was an offside call. Nobody heard the ref blow it dead. So, just everybody who was there, Danger, on Saturday night can kind of attest. That was one of the best atmospheres we had in quite some time for a Rochester sporting event.
We have the NFL owners meetings going on. It's that sacred time of year where the GMs get together for the group picture. The coaches get together for the group picture. They get together to discuss rule changes and what the next season and beyond looks like for the NFL. We did hear this weekend from Brandon Beane. We did hear from Sean McDermott this weekend. What are our biggest takeaways here? I think for me, it was what I was most curious to hear Bean speak of, because one of the things that changed from the last time we heard Bean speak to where we are now, aside from a pretty significant roster turnover, the compensatory draft pick that was, we believed to be a third-round pick, but it actually is now a fourth-round pick for the Buffalo Bills. Listen to Brandon Bean try to explain. This is why. It's voodoo, man. I feel like they make it up as they go.
Or is it voodoo or literally, you know what, I'm not going to give you the third. We're going to only give you a fourth because I feel like.
Here's Brandon Bean trying to explain why what they thought was going to be a third-round compensatory draft pick actually became a fourth.
It did surprise me. I think us in San Francisco, we got a raw deal. It's just they're counting. I don't want to give a full thing, but we had separate Zooms with the league trying to go through how it was calculated, because by even their accounts, as we were checking with them through the year, we clearly had a third rounder. And so it's with all the conversions, the voids and things like that, numbers that are not really numbers. Like, for example, San Fran gave an example of one of their players that was really around a 17 APY was being counted as a 26 APY by the way they did the void with higher cap numbers at the end. And there's been so many of those in recent years due to COVID and where the cap was that it fell into it, and we missed, I'm talking like this, and it was a major blow because we had planned for that, and I know San Fran felt the same way.
Did you do anything after that with like an appeal of some sort? Like, how does that work?
We did our best, and they said no deal.
We did our best, and they said no deal. Numbers that aren't numbers. I love that, too. We were dealing with numbers that weren't really numbers, and Brandon kind of started by saying, I don't want to make this a whole big deal. No, please enlighten us. Please tell us how they figure this out. I know he was trying to tell us, but
yeah, I mean, I would think the Players Association would want this to be more transparent too, because your client, if drafted in the third or the fourth round, that makes a big difference in terms of the rookie pay structure. So I think there are certain things in Sports Danger that are a little shady. This is one of them. When we get to the World Cup and the bonus time comes up there, wait, how did you figure that out? And why can't you actually put that on the clock like every other sport? There are certain things where there's latitude, but you're on a need-to-know basis, and you don't need to know why. And I think people love the sport so much that we smell BS on this one.
Yeah. Sean McDermott is part of the competition committee, so he's part of the committee that will come up with the rules that are being voted on here during the owners' meetings. One of those rules that did get adopted today is the banning of the hip drop tackle. We've talked about this a little bit here since the end of the season. This is where a defensive player grabs the ball carrier, drags him down while he kind of unweights himself by dropping their hip, using the leverage of their hip to kind of like land on their legs. And so you'll end up with players who broken legs, sprained ankles. This is famously Mark Andrews for the Ravens was the last one that really was impacted by a hip drop tackle on a Monday night game against Cincinnati this last season. They're going away. So there will be a penalty now assessed, 15 yards, if the referee sees what he believes to be a hip drop tackle.
Well, this is a little more gray. I know you're going to get into this a little later on, but hey, if you see a horse collar, yeah, you know exactly what that is.
Yeah. No, this will be a tough thing and this is why the NFLPA is against this rule, because I think it adds confusion to coaching, it adds confusion to the players, and it'll be a thing that I think they want to enforce, because this is all about, once again, player safety. But I don't know if they'll know it when they see it. The other rule that didn't get voted on, and Sean McDermott spoke on this a little bit, the new kickoff rules.
There is a personnel mechanism to all of this, just like anything, right? Any rule change, you've got to be aware of that. But in this case, you're going to find some different types of personnel now making teams, or more of a certain type of, personnel, body weight, size, whatever it is, speed, making your team if this goes through.
So it didn't get voted on. The new kickoff rules did not get voted on. So as of right now, I think everything is still status quo. It could get voted on tomorrow. We don't know. But what was being proposed was kind of a hybrid from what the XFL did, and it was a little confusing. There's like 3 different zones where if you kick it here, it does this. But with the result being player safety, less injuries on the kickoff, and more returns because we want to see the return back in the game. And the XFL, ironically, figured it out, where the NFL. Now, if the NFL can make it look like it's their idea, they're all about it, right? But they didn't get a chance to vote on it today, so we don't have resolution on that. And what Sean McDermott is saying makes a lot of sense. Like, if you know that the rule is changing, maybe you benefit by having faster guys on your kickoff team. If you know that you need bigger guys to do more blocking and speed is less important, you want to be able to know going into the season, hey, who's making this team and who's not? Who are we going after, knowing that they could be a vital part of our teams?
Yeah, you got to make these decisions now because who are you drafting? That especially in the later rounds, that's where you normally fill out your special teams unit. The one-player personnel thing that I think, and rightfully so, that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott both talked about was Tre'Davious White. So Tre'Davious White, Sean McDermott today actually called it tragic in some ways because of the injuries. He told the story of how after that game in Miami, everybody went over and saw Trey at his place and really couldn't say much because you kind of knew.
Yeah.
And if you were in the stadium that day, you were in danger. I
knew.
We all knew.
He knew.
It was like everybody was like, oh, you're kidding me.
He knew. That's why he was as emotional as he was getting carted off the field. He knew. And that sucks, man. But we knew. Everybody in that stadium knew, including Trey White.
Which, when to hear Brandon Beane today leave the door ajar, if there's a point in the summer, didn't make it sound like anything was imminent. Tre'Davious White has certainly met and talked with some teams, and obviously there hasn't been an offer to his liking. He's still out there, but I put it greater than the Sabres' playoff chances.
Or an offer. I mean,
yeah.
or just an offer, right?
Yeah.
Like he maybe hasn't even gotten an offer, and if you have that, then maybe you're able to extend him something. But we'll see. And I didn't think that they would shut the door on that completely. You said the same thing. We've been asking our insider friends, does this mean that we can bring him back at a reduced price at somewhere? He's earned the right to be able to go out there and shop his wares and see what his value is now, but the injuries are going to make it a challenge. And I don't know what team is going to say to him, yeah, we're going to bet on you for 1 year. Hope that you can be somewhat productive. He's coming off an Achilles, man. Like 2025 is the year that you really should be targeting Trey White for what he could actually be as far as an impact to your roster.
Yeah, and I would think that if Tre'Davious White wanted to bet on himself, you know what? Sign for the minimum in Buffalo. Get yourself back. You can. It's better to work out in a team facility. And by the way, when November, December rolls around, he should be good to go by that point.
There is another Bills story, and I don't know when we'll get to it this afternoon, but I want to make sure, because this was a big story in the Buffalo News. Yeah. The PSLs are out there.
I've got, when we get to it, somewhere around 4 o'clock today, okay. I've got, and I'll drink to that because, and our guy, Brayton Wilson, was the guy asking Pete Goelli in a conference call, like, hey, about the PSLs, where if you listen to our show, we've been saying this all along. Here's what I didn't expect a lot along the storyline. They're not really telling us the secrecy with everything, the non-disclosure. Tell us the price. What is the strategy here?
Well, they don't have to. We will learn, and we are learning now.
Right.
And as it's getting rolled out, the people that is impacting the most are being vocal about how it impacts them. And the Buffalo News doing a good job kind of focusing in on one specific Bills fan who's been a season ticket holder through the generations and is experiencing some pretty severe sticker shock, knowing what the PSL is going to have to cost them if they want to continue to have the seats, the kind of seats that they've had for generations. We'll get to that here with I'll Drink to That coming up right around 4 o'clock. Up next in the sports bar, we check in with BetMGM tonight's Ryan Horvat. Talk some Sweet 16 and get some winners for tonight in the NBA as well with Ryan here on The Fan Rochester.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Dan Hurley is the king of superstition, especially on game day. He has to have 8 M&Ms before every game. He has to have a cup of bulletproof coffee on the sidelines at all times, and do not knock it over. And he has to wear the same suit and socks and shoes, and yes, the same Red Dragon underwear. And don't worry, it is clean. His wife, Andrea, travels with a portable washing machine. I mean, you can't make that up, Ian.
And apparently they travel a Maytag repairman with them as part of the crew. No, they do not. Who has a portable washing machine? I didn't even know that existed.
A little tidbit there, and UConn coach Dan Hurley,
That's
who's
a little weird. I'm sorry.
The superstitions
Yeah.
are something. Yeah, I have a feeling you could be a little superstitious, but you also kind of create your own luck. You know what I mean? I do like the bulletproof coffee, though. Me and Hurley do have that in common. We welcome in Ryan Horvath. He is the co-host of BetMGM Tonight. You can hear him every weeknight here on the Fan Rochester, along with Nick, along with Trista. Ryan, how are you holding up after just an unbelievable marathon of games through the course of the last 4 days, buddy?
Well, the basketball product was pretty good. Unfortunately, I bet mostly underdogs, and so not my favorite weekend. I did all right. Thank God for UConn over Northwestern. Last night I did pick against Houston, who I have winning it all. I just thought, man, I think that total. I think the spread closed at like 10.5. But I like Drake to make a run to the Sweet 16 for the second year in a row. They had an 8-point lead with a couple minutes to go and completely collapsed and fell apart. So that was the one that crushed me, as I had Drake even pulling off the upset over Iowa State. But other than that, man, a really good product, and I'm actually kind of happy that it was mostly chalk because we get better matchups. I love a good underdog story, but at the end of the day, did we really want to see Oakland in the Sweet 16? No, we want to see the top teams. We want to see Marquette and Illinois and UConn, and I think we're going to have a really good Sweet 16 and Elite 8 coming up this weekend.
Yeah, Ryan, what was your big? Because we did have a few surprises, whether that was Auburn, a team that was top 10 offense and defense in KenPom, losing to Yale. You brought up Oakland. I was just surprised at the lackadaisical nature of Kentucky's defense. Any other surprises in your mind here in round one?
Yeah, Kentucky wasn't a huge surprise. It was just a team that I really liked this year, even though they didn't play a whole lot of defense. They were the best three-point shooting team in the country. They had 4 or 5 guys. I mean, they got 2 guys on their bench that could be lottery picks. And it just shows, man, Cal does a great job recruiting, but I just don't think you win with these one-and-dones anymore. I think you win with guys that stay 3, 4, even 5 years, and that's why we see teams like Houston, even Duke and North Carolina have kind of went away from the one-and-done players, right? They get 3 or 4-year guys now even. So I just think college basketball's changed. But, yeah, so Kentucky going out early didn't really surprise me, but also kind of surprised me because that was that team, just like I said with Alabama, that's either going to make a run to the Final Four or get knocked out in the opening round because of their lack of I guess their defensive problems. But, yeah, other than that, man, Drake going down to Washington State did kind of surprise me. The one that surprised me, actually, is North Carolina State. They went on that great run in the ACC tournament, had to win 5 straight games. They won more games, actually, than the Wizards have won at home all season long just in one weekend. And now here they are. They're a really good team. And it's kind of surprising because, I watched the ACC all season long. I thought the conference was down, and now they have 3 teams. Still 4 here in the Sweet 16. 4 teams, in the Sweet 16. It's just insane.
I was going to go there next, Ryan, because we said the same thing. ACC seems down this year. You got a quarter of the teams left that are ACC teams. You got 3 teams from the Big East still playing ball. And I guess, when you have an NC State against a Marquette coming up here as one of the Sweet 16 matchups, which conference are you leaning towards here? I mean, we certainly know what we know about UConn, and Marquette and Creighton are also in there. I mean, does the ACC win out in these situations? How do you see this shaking out here with some of these ACC schools, whether we're talking Duke or NC State, Carolina? What's your take?
Yeah, and my apologies to Clemson. Geez, and it's funny because I had this, it was on Instagram, and a couple of weeks ago I was talking about maybe playing Clemson futures in the tournament. I was like, here's a team that maybe they make a run to the Elite 8, or again, they get knocked out in the opening round, but I really like P.J. Hall. I think they're well coached. They're a tough team, and they're physical, and then they got bounced in the opening round of the ACC tournament. And I always say, just don't pay attention to these tournaments. You never know the motivation for some of these teams, right? And Clemson, I didn't play any of their futures, and now here they are playing in the Sweet 16. I'm going to answer the Big East just because they have UConn, and I do really like this matchup for Marquette. There's a reason I think why Marquette's 6.5-point favorites. Now, they could easily get knocked out if they don't shoot well. They were down 10 points at half. We just saw that. And the thing, though, about like the Big East is all these teams are battle-tested. You get UConn, who right now, I mean, there's a reason why they're 15-point favorites in all these games. They're so scary to bet against because they hit shots. Klingon's a monster. He's a walking double-double. And Dan Hurley, no matter what you think about him, is a really good coach, obviously. And then with Marquette, I know Shaka Smart, it's been a long time since he's been back to the Final Four, but I think he might have his team. They have shooters, and then they have Tyler Kolek. And I was surprised how well he played because a couple weeks ago, actually last week, Shaka said at his presser right before the tournament that Tyler Kolek was struggling to even breathe.
Yeah.
You know, he had that injury, and he was so good down the stretch. And that team just has a toughness that, you know, Marquette hasn't had. You know, when Steve Wojciechowski was there, they couldn't get to the tournament. Then they'd get to the tournament. They couldn't win a game. Shaka looks like he's kind of found something, and they play enough defense. I just worry, like when we get to, if they get past this round and they get to the Elite Eight, are their legs going to catch up? Because, man, they just run and gun the entire time. But I like them. And then Creighton's another team. They could go all the way to the national championship, or they could get beat because they're kind of soft. But they hit shots. They have a big that's really good. I like McDermott as a coach. So I'm going to answer the Big East. But, man, I'm just surprised the ACC's here. Now we'll see what Duke's able to do against Houston. I did pick Houston to win it all, but they could have got beat last night. Carolina, all season long, I talked about this. I was like, is Carolina a great team? Are they a good team? Like, what are they? And I really like this team. I know they were a big letdown last year, but, man, they're scary. And we'll see what the other teams look like, Clemson and NC State. I don't know that I love their matchups.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Horvat, you'll hear him tonight. Bet MGM tonight, along with Nick and Trista. Ryan, as far as when we talked to this little bit last week about Purdue, they beat Grambling and they wailed on Utah State, putting up 106 points. Did we really learn anything about the Boilermakers here this weekend, knowing the level of the competition?
I hate to sound like a hater, and I'm a Midwest guy, so I'm a big Ten guy. I don't like Purdue. I think Matt Painter's a really good coach. I know he doesn't have the tournament success, and he's had some bad exits, but I do think he's a really good regular season coach. We'll see what he's able to do with this team. But, I like Illinois, and I kind of like Wisconsin, which is a big no-no, but I spent time both in Illinois and in Wisconsin, and I kind of fell in love with both programs. And Zach Edey has been a terrible watch the last couple of years. He gets every single whistle. They can't officiate this kid. You know what I mean? And I get it. He's a big, and that's basketball. But I'm just sick of Purdue, man. A couple of years ago, I trusted them. I played a bunch of futures because I really liked Jaden Ivey. I think I was wrong on Jaden Ivey. I kept calling him Derrick Rose Light, and they got bounced early. And now they're here in the Sweet 16, and like you said, I still don't know who they are because I don't love them defensively. It comes down to, Zach Edey's going to get double-teamed. He's such a good passer out of the post. If guys are hitting shots, this team could win it all. If they have that cold shooting night, they don't play enough defense, even against a team like Gonzaga. I kind of like the Zags in that matchup. All season long, I really like them and I like St. Mary's. And I know this isn't your classic Zags team because they don't have a Drew Timme or a Chet Holmgren, an Adam Morrison. They don't really have a superstar, but they got four guys that could score 20 points. And I really like Mark Few. And I think that they could pull the upset. So I still don't know what Purdue is. Won't shock me if they make a run, but I couldn't bet them just because they just don't have it defensively. Like you said, I was kind of surprised about Auburn just because some of these teams that are top 10 offensively and defensively are the teams that you usually trust in March. And Purdue, it just seems like they're missing something. But who knows, man, because Zach Edey is a nightmare matchup over everybody because he's 7'10".
That Creighton, Tennessee matchup there as well is another one. I mean, the collision course that we're on with Purdue, Gonzaga, Creighton, Tennessee is a fantastic one. Handicap that one for us a little bit here. You talked a little bit about Creighton as a potential team that could end up in the final, but they're soft and they're going up against that tough Tennessee team.
Yeah, I like Tennessee, so watch, Creighton will end up winning this game. I thought Creighton was going to get knocked out the other night. But they just keep hitting shots and they keep coming back and they have so much offensive firepower. But so does Tennessee. Tennessee all season long, in the SEC, I didn't know what they were, but I kind of like them more than a Kentucky because they do at least attempt to play some defense, and they got guys, man. I mean, they got shooters. They have one of the best players in the tournament. If you have a guy in the tournament that could go off for 30, 40 points like they have, that's usually a team that you could trust. I think this is going to be a higher scoring game. I was actually kind of surprised to see some money come in on the under. I think this is going to be one of the higher scoring games of the weekend. I know that's probably a chalky pick right there to take the over, but I think I'll probably take the first half over even in this game. And I lean Tennessee. I picked Tennessee in my brackets to go to the Final Four. I know I was going back and forth with you guys. I ended up going with Tennessee to make a run here. So I'm going to continue to trust them, and I think they get the job done. But I think that's going to be one of the better games, one of the higher scoring games, and I can't wait to watch that.
Ryan, tonight, I never recall like a Monday during the tournament, like, okay, let's go. Women's ready for this tonight. In particular, in our area, Ryan, and we can't bet on this because Syracuse taking on UConn, new territory for the Orange. DeAsia Fair has been fantastic. But your thoughts here on a couple things. Like, one, is it a smart play to continue to, go with Iowa here? And how do you think whatever this is surrounding LSU basketball and Kim Mulkey, are they going to rally around the coach, even though we really haven't even seen this article yet, supposedly from the Washington Post?
Yeah, what a weird situation. She has to know something. Like, I've never seen anybody react. If you're reacting like this and something hasn't even come out, the piece hasn't even come out, that probably means that you did something or you're guilty or you know what's coming, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're going to rally, or I don't know if this is going to be a big distraction. I mean, they could have got beat the other day. I'm not there with LSU. UConn, on the other hand, I love. Tough matchup going against Syracuse, and as I look at the spread here, I feel like it's a trap, but I like UConn and I like the over. I think that they're going to be able to score some points tonight. Iowa's a team where they're probably going to make another run to the Final Four because Caitlin Clark is that good, and they have other players, too, that I really like, and they're really tough defensively when they want to be. But the only thing is these spreads are out of control. My uncle is a big women's college basketball bettor. In fact, unfortunately, he's got us kicked off of multiple sports books because he's a little bit too good. And then this weekend, of course, I follow his advice. I give his picks out, and he goes on a stinker, like 2 for 4. And his favorite bet, he kept telling me, you just hammer Iowa. And I look at the spread, man, in that opening game, 37.5. I don't care how good you are or who you're playing. That's a lot of points. Yeah. And they didn't cover. At one point, they went up 30. I was like, here we go. And then I look at the scoreboard, and it's 24. So I just feel like right now you're kind of paying the tax, kind of like with UConn. And I know UConn's covering these big numbers, but we're seeing UConn priced as like 14.5-point favorites in a tournament game, where the number probably should be 11.5, but they're saying, hey, everybody loves this team. Hey, you want to cheer for Caitlin Clark? Here's an extra 3 or 4 points. And you can't play the money line because you have to risk like $1,700 to win 100, and I just don't have it like that. So I won't be surprised if they make a run, but I went all chalk, guys, and I took South Carolina minus 135 just to win the national championship. I think it's my favorite bet of the year. Now it's minus 150, now that they've got past the opening round. But they're undefeated for a reason. I think they're a bad matchup for anybody. I think they'll beat LSU. I think they'll beat UConn. And I think that they would beat Iowa. I think they're the most complete team. They're really well coached. So I did go chalk there. And I would actually be shocked. I really would if anybody beat them this year. But it's going to be a great tournament. And I agree with what Caitlin Clark said. Like, I'm more excited for the women's side than the men's side. And I've been saying that the last couple of years. It's just a better product. It really is.
Ryan, I got to follow up there. Was that tongue-in-cheek, or does that really go on if you're too good at any sports book there?
Oh, no. That happens all the time.
Happens all the time.
Yeah, you get limited all the time.
Yeah.
Ryan, does it happen to you with frequency? I mean, what drives me nuts is when it happens to me when I'm just betting. I'm going to steal one of your phrases, Ryan. Pizza money. Like, I'll just bet pizza money, and they'll say, like, nope, that's too much. I'm like, what?
So it's crazy, right? Because, like, before you could do everything mobile, like, on the mobile apps, and you had to go to the counter, there weren't many counters that you could go to, so I would have to go to Las Vegas like once or twice a year and play all my futures and play some bets and then go back or send my tickets in, and it was a big pain. And so everybody bet offshore or with a local bookie, and there were plenty of times where like a local bookie would be like, okay, you took me for enough. You're lucky that you got this. See you later. Offshore accounts still do that all the time, and now, like a lot of these sports books will do the same thing. That's why some sports books will still take action from, we'll call them like professional gamblers, right? And some will not. Some will limit you. What's crazy, though, is like sometimes it's all about just like beating the market, and they worry about like, because you could have robots bet for you. You could have runners bet for you. So it's just crazy. Sometimes they'll limit you Luckily, I have BetMGM, who's a show sponsor, and so like they don't limit me or anything like that, and I have them, and that's really the only option we have in Washington, D.C., and I don't want to name any names, but there was a sports book where I had a Saturday where I went 0-4, and I lost like $900, and it was brutal, and then the next day I went to check in, or went to sign back in, and I got kicked off, and it was only because I beat the market by like 4 or 5 points. I got the closing line value, but I actually lost all 4 bets, and they still kicked me off because they were like, this guy's a pro. And, I mean, you know, like I follow the advice of other pros. I like to watch all the games, but I'm not exactly Billy Walters. I'm living in a 2-bedroom here in Maryland. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you see some of these guys and the money that they're getting down. But, yeah, they'll limit you. And, yeah, it's really weird. Excuse me. Jeez.
Take your time, Ryan. Catch your breath.
Oh, yeah.
You good?
I had a sip of coffee, though, that went down the wrong tube. You guys ever had that?
The worst.
Especially when you're on the air.
Oh, yeah. Well, I just wrapped up a 2-hour – we do a Packers podcast, even in the summer, Kurt and Long, and we just went for 2 hours on free agency and on this interview that Jordan Love did. So I've been rolling here, so I apologize.
Ryan, well, let's keep you rolling because there's another story that's very relevant to the world of gambling.
Oh, what story is this, Mike?
I don't know if you've heard of this guy Shohei Ohtani and this story out of the Dodgers. Man, I just got to get your take on what you think actually happened versus what we're being told happened or what's being alleged as happening. I mean, I think Gino and I are on the same page. It's like, oh, that had to be Shohei making those bets. There's no way a bookie is going to extend that line of credit to an interpreter.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys said it because I feel like there's going to be people, especially like with the shows that we do, that dance around it a little bit. And I mean, I had a buddy last night and he texted me, he's like, Shohei's guilty, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, definitely guilty because like you said, I mean, I don't know anybody that's just letting the interpreter or just a regular Joe get down that kind of money, right? But if Shohei is getting down that kind of money, he's not running, he's paying. He's not going to be like, Bruno Mars doing free shows or doing 25% off discounts because he lost so much money. And so it's funny, though, man, because I was actually kind of surprised. I'm a big Ohtani fan. It's like you see all these like memes and all these pictures, and it's like, oh, here's Shohei at the Final Four a couple of years ago, and the expression that he has on his face is like the same look that I had this weekend. You know what I mean? Where you're sweating out a 14 parlay, or your game's coming down to the wire and you're cheering for overtime because you have the over in the game and it's about to go under by 20 points. It's weird. I want to see what ends up happening, and this is what's scary though, right? It's like I love betting on games, but like. When we're at the Super Bowl in Las Vegas, it's like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes and all these guys, they could walk into the casino and they could sit down at the table, but they can't go into the sports book. And a couple of years ago, Tony Romo got in some trouble, couldn't keep his money because he was going to host a fantasy football convention in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And so there's like all these rules and it's a fine line and it's kind of dangerous though. You know what I mean? Like we're watching the game and it's like, this is sponsored by, BetMGM and this and that. And so, that's what you worry about a little bit, obviously, is like the integrity of the game and stuff like this coming out. Because I thought this was going to be really rare. Like when the first couple guys got popped, and it was like, like Quintez Cephas and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, you know what? The guys that don't make a whole lot of money are probably going to want to get down in some action, even if it's like betting the NBA or, I could see them getting in some trouble. But guys like Shohei Ohtani, who are making $900 million, why would they ever risk that? And that's what's kind of surprising. That's why I'm like shocked a little bit. You know what I mean? But we'll see what ends up happening because it's Shohei. I want to see what happens here. And I love how like the Dodgers and Major League Baseball are probably going to try to cover it up. But I want to see if he ends up getting suspended. If it should be a year suspension probably, right? Like we see what's happening in the NFL. I don't know, man, because that's your biggest star. And baseball has a problem right now marketing their players, I think.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And there's so much that bothers me about this story. For one, Shohei's character. I'm just going to mow down my interpreter. Your life is over. Good luck working again here. Even though the other thing too is, and Ryan, I'm a little older than you, but I lived through Pete Rose and the Dowd Report. Anybody wants to debate it? Wow, the Dowd Report kind of spells it out. There's the evidence. I don't think Rob Manfred or anybody cares one thing about anything about the integrity of the game. We're not going to see anything like the Dowd Report. That's my opinion.
Right, exactly. And it's funny, I did the whole thing in college even about why Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. And so that's why this is So I want to see what ends up happening here. Like, it should be a lifetime ban. I don't know why I said a 1-year suspension. I mean, if he gets caught gambling, I mean, like you said, like with Pete Rose, the all-time hit king, and he'll never be in the Hall of Fame. So if it's Shohei Ohtani and he gets caught gambling, I don't know.
Betting on baseball would be the lifetime ban, I would think.
That's it, yeah.
But and from what...
And that's what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
Is he just betting March Madness? Is he betting horse racing? But we don't know. I mean, because like originally, remember, like we thought the guys in the NFL and some of these guys were just betting on NBA basketball, and it turns out no. Like this guy was suspended. Calvin Ridley, even though he didn't play that year, he wasn't suspended yet, but he just sat out for a year. He was gambling. He was betting on football. So like if that's Shohei Ohtani and he's betting on Major League Baseball, I feel like that's probably a lifetime ban right there. And what I find weird about the situation is, so the Jeff Passan report, or Jeff Passan goes on and did one of his 100 hits or whatever this weekend. And as this information is all coming out, Shohei and his interpreter are like buddy-buddy in the dugout, like playing patty cake. That's the weirdest thing about the situation, right? Like if you're my guy and you're on the hook for $4.5 million and bad press is coming out, I don't want to be near you, right? Like I want nothing to do with you. And that's what's so weird about the entire situation. And Passan even said, like at the time, Ohtani knew that the report was coming out. So that's why this whole thing is really weird. I don't know when we're going to get clarification on the whole thing. And it's like you got to dance around it right now, but it seems like Shohei is probably going to be in some trouble. I would be surprised if he didn't get in some trouble here.
Yeah. Ryan, really appreciate you giving us some time this afternoon. Want to let you have a little bit of time. You already gave a plug for your Packers pod. This Bears fan doesn't know why anybody would want to listen to Curd and Long, but fair enough. Tell us about BetMGM tonight. We'll be listening for you tonight here at 7 o'clock.
I'm actually really high on the Bears, to be honest. A ton of money. I love Caleb Williams, a top 10 defense. I don't know if Eberflus is any good, but I think the Bears are going to be really, really good. And I think this Packers-Bears rivalry is finally going to be a real thing for the first time.
Come on, that's all I have. My low bar that needs to be cleared is just beat Green Bay. I don't care about the playoffs.
He's humoring you.
I don't care about. He's not humoring me. Caleb Williams is going to be good.
I love Caleb Williams.
The Bears never screw up quarterback. They get quarterback right all the time. They've never had an issue with quarterback. It's going to be fine, Gino.
I think this is going to be the first time that they've ever got it right, to be honest with you. But no, you can check me out, BetMGM tonight, 7 to 11 p.m. Eastern. The podcast is out there, BetMGM tonight. I promise I won't cough up a lung like I almost just did right there while I was taking a sip of my $1 McDonald's coffee. But yeah, tonight we'll be hitting on March Madness. I'm going to be talking a lot about the NFL here because that's my favorite thing in the world. I love college basketball. I love the NBA, but get me to the NFL. I'm going to be complaining about the new rules tonight. And there's a team that I really like in the NFC that I'm going to be talking about tonight too. So, yeah, check out the show.
All right, that's a tease. Ryan, thanks, buddy, for the time. Always great.
Thanks for having me, guys. Take care.
You got it, Ryan Horvat. He is the host of BetMGM tonight. You can hear him tonight starting at 7 o'clock on The Fan. Rochester does a great show with Trista, Nikashu there. They're about just dishing out those winners.
I feel like we could do 3 hours on Shohei easily.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about it yet, have we?
No. And the update here was, hey, he's going to talk to the media.
Did he talk to the media?
Not yet. And when he does, it's only going to be reading a statement.
Oh, so it's not a press conference.
No, I'm going to get in front of a prepared statement. His lawyer. So what are we even doing here?
Yeah, he's gonna have to face the music at some point. I don't know that we've seen anything about him betting on baseball, right? We haven't heard any speculation around that.
No, but baseball's behind on this. Remember, this was a federal investigation because it's not legal in California.
Right.
And we got to give our guy Brian credit here. Like, what average Joe would have a $4.5 million line of credit? $4.5 million you got in the hole.
Yeah, no, it's Shohei. It's Shohei. And maybe he's the guy that's doing the running for him, but it is Shohei. So we'll get to more of what we learned from that prepared statement when we do actually hear it here on The Fan. Rochester joining us next hour, former RIT goaltender Mike Rotolo.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been a good one for PJ's Baltimore accent bracket.
Mike Rotolo.
Yeah, that one slipped through the cracks. Some takes on tap next in the sports bar. We're going to play I'll Drink to That.
Yeah, so if you're a Bills season ticket holder, what are your thoughts here? Like us in Rochester, I feel like they haven't even reached out to us yet, but the sticker shock is kind of a real thing. I've got some thoughts here on that.
And, Ryan Horvat just kind of pointed out something he's going to talk about later tonight on his show. We'll discuss one of the rule changes coming up here, this new hip drop tackle rule. I'll make the easiest of all predictions to make when you talk about what we can expect out of this year's NFL season. We'll get to that, and I have a non-sports take as well. All on the way here in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Obviously, a whole lot of talk about the NCAA tournament, and we're waiting on Shohei. Got thoughts on the NFL, owners' meetings, and more.
The NFL has banned the hip drop tackle.
We got a raw deal.
Will Clapp is the offensive lineman they had, and Austin Johnson is the defensive lineman that they had.
Daquan Jones! He has to wear the same suit and socks and shoes and, yes, the same Red Dragon underwear.
Mike Danger.
I don't believe in jinxes. I don't believe in that nonsense. I don't know how you are. I know we can be superstitious, but I don't believe in jinxes.
No. Gene Battaglia.
The Tigers are the champions of Atlantic Hockey!
RIT is set to take on Boston University.
Go Tigers! Final score from the Blue Cross Arena. Rochester Americans 4, Utica Comets 1.
Let's go, Buffalo! Here come the Buffalo Sabres!
And the Sabres pick up a 4-1 victory.
Let's get ready for opening day.
Let's go, Mets. Go Braves.
Caitlin Clark is back on the floor tonight.
We're back.
They just shouldn't cover basketball.
So I get my my beef Wellington.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Former RIT goalie Mike Bertolo stopping by the sports bar here in about 20 minutes. We'll talk about that ascension, the RIT Tigers advancing to the NCAA. Men's hockey tournament. Looking forward to that coming up later on this week. We welcome you back into the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia, glad you're with us at 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can even get us on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. We've got the video stream up for you as well. You can watch the sports bar on our YouTube channel at The Fan Rochester, streaming on Twitch at The Fan Rochester.
Yeah, I'm just looking up the RIT hockey. We can't bet on this, Danger.
No.
No.
No?
No.
Well,
No,
we
off
can't
the
because
board.
they're
it's off the board. Yeah,
they're a New York State school,
Right.
and so
it just crossed my mind. Like, wait a second, we've never talked about
What the line would be?
Yeah, what the line would be, and I've got it. The sports book kind of filtered it out, obviously, since that they're not. You can't have any action. Boston College at plus 300. Boston University opponent to win the whole thing at plus 550.
Yeah, one of those two Boston schools feels like a lock, right? That I don't want to say that RIT doesn't have a chance, because they do, and anything can happen. There's a lot of
You realize it's how tough it is, because say they do get by Boston. Well, congratulations, you get the winner of Minnesota and Omaha.
Right.
Yeah.
Not an easy path for any team that makes it to the Frozen Four. Some takes on tap before we get to Rotolo here coming up later this hour.
Yeah, so we have this ongoing story here about the Bills and the tickets. And I'll put it this way. I remember have you ever been hard sold, Danger? The first time it happens to you, particularly at a young age, it's really unnerving. There was my buddy, I'm 17, brings me to a health club. This is great. I get the pass, whatever. And and then all of a sudden I go into a room and I'm told to sit down.
Yeah.
And I just want to say I want to think about it. No, there's really I kind of learned what I don't like about that, and I just kind of bring this up, and I don't know what the Bills' experience is like. You know why? Because everyone that goes into it has to sign a non-disclosure. What business does that? Well, it's getting out, and you could read about it in the Buffalo News. $50,000 is the top price right now, at least we know.
For the club seats.
PSL for the club level.
Yeah.
Which, what did you expect? Think of it buying a high-end car, right? You don't have $50,000 lying around. You can finance it. No problem. It's a low monthly payment. And how many months do you want to go over that?
Did I read in the article that there's interest-free financing until the stadium is built for some, but then for others, for other levels of the PSL, like it's an interest rate of 10% or greater?
Yeah, that's a lot.
What it sounds like to me is that the people who can afford it don't have to pay it all at once. They can spread it out between now and the opening of the stadium and not be penalized with any interest as they pay for the full amount. Meanwhile, the people who really probably can't afford it,
you're paying interest rates that
Right.
that whoever the bank is going to enjoy, and I'm sure there's some sort of rev sharing there.
Gross.
Also, so the Bill Stadium experience, let me back up for folks who aren't familiar with this. It's in a strip mall in suburban Buffalo. You can't just show up. It's only by appointment, and you can't call like your doctor's office and say, No, they invite you. They're going to tell you when you can come down. So how does this work for everybody here in Rochester? Like, literally, that's not exactly fan friendly. Hey, it's the month of May, and I got to go drive to Buffalo just to hear the timeshare pitch. Essentially, just tell me how much it is. That's the price. I can make that decision. It's way too heavy-handed. Hard sell approach. Has me a little unsettled.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I have a similar. So I think my first hard sell was when I bought like my first car by myself. Like the first car, a lot of times mom and dad will help you out, or will at least hang out with you and make sure that you're not getting hosed.
You need this extended warranty for 10 years.
Yeah, right. But I remember the first time I did get sat down and like, I can't afford this, but it didn't matter. I bought the car that I couldn't afford, and it was partially because I had of that hard sell. The sticker shock is the thing that I think is going to become the story. And there's already in the article they were talking about a Facebook group where people are talking about what is coming out of the Buffalo Bills experience. We knew it was going to be expensive. And look, these prices are for the best of the best seats. So $50,000 for a club level seat between the 40-yard lines. Yeah, I guess that makes sense, unless you're like the woman that they showcased in this story, the person who's had these tickets for generations. And now you're looking at it as like, well, I guess I've got 2 years left because I can't afford $20,000 on top of the season tickets.
Well, and they knew this. The capacity is reduced.
So is the element that they're going to weed out here the element that they're going to weed out is, I think, the soul of the fan base, and that's what's alarming to me. The idea that this woman has had these tickets passed down from her grandfather to her father to her, and now she's looking at it through a lens of, well, I guess I've got 2 years left, and that's it. I mean, that's troubling, because that's the soul of this fan base, right? Like the Bills fans that are the purest blood of Bills fans have been Bills fans because Dad was a Bills fan, Grandpa was a Bills fan, and those are the people I think that are going to be the hardest. Those are going to be the people that are hardest for them to close.
Or you know what? You don't sit on the 50-yard line. Take a lesser seat. They're all not going to be $50,000, $20,000. Like, I wish I could quote you exactly where it was, for your seat, but there's got to be other options. So, also, we're adults here. Like, you're not entitled to anything. Yeah, that's the thing that, like, Danger, you and I, we differ on some things personally. I think we agree on this part. There was a show, House of Cards, there, and, the character in there. You are entitled to nothing.
Right.
I've been here for 40 years. Okay, the world has changed. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And my thing with this is also, hey, if you can't afford it and you can't pay for it, then don't. I mean, that's a tough thing to walk away from, but you're going to do damage to yourself, your future, your next generation. Like, don't do it. You'll have these great memories, but at what expense? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it continues to play out. You have this story, and you certainly have a new COO in Pete Welly this is going to be one of the many things he's got to deal with here over the course of the next couple of years.
Look, I mean, when we had Pete on with us last week, he's got a lot on his plate. A hockey arena that needs work, a hockey team that needs work, and then you've got it's this and then everything else. This has to get done. You know what's going to happen, Danger? It will get done. I just don't like the kind of secrecy. Like, we add this to the list here, when it comes to comp picks, free time there in World Cup play, and also now, hey, how much is the PSL?
Yeah, and we're also just, funding billionaires. I mean, that's what drives me crazy, is that they're double dipping, man. It's so insane to me. This is the NFL's stranglehold on our society. They're double dipping. They're taxing us, and then on top of it, they want to get their beaks wet.
You can't complain about this now. Where was the pushback?
No, I
felt
right.
like we were like the only sports. I'm like, what? Wait a second, what?
Yeah.
Whoa. No. We're going to give all this money over.
No, my biggest fear all along with this was I don't know that our region has the kind of wealth that can support what they're going to ask us to do.
Well, seeing that they own a hockey team, and some would say equally as popular a lacrosse team in Buffalo, hey, you can't afford the bills? No problem. Bandit season tickets are... They know.
We like to make our bold predictions here in the sports bar as we get closer and closer to the season. There's a lot of things that come out of that are wild and unpredictable, but the easiest shot, I think, to call, this is not a bold prediction. This is what you can expect here this upcoming NFL season. The entirety of the preseason and the first month of the regular season, you're going to hear a lot about the hip drop tackle rule. This is going to become a controversy. When players start getting penalized 15 yards for this maneuver, it'll be all anyone wants to talk about. And ultimately, the NFL will talk about how injuries have decreased with this rule. I don't think it's as obvious to the eye as a horse collar or as a face mask. I think it's going to be tough for officials on field and for players to know whether or not they're executing this. So basically, what is a tackle will become the all-new what is a catch in the NFL.
Okay, so look at this through the eyes of a lawyer, okay, because there are different varying degrees as I've been reading up about this. What they're trying to get away from is, hey, the hip drop, but I'm going to kind of twist you into the ground. Okay, that is the one that is more probable. So, but it kind of falls under the same umbrella. So the twist one, yeah, you could see that. But for everything else, are you going to... What this opens the door here, Danger, is fines. This is what we want to kind of get out of the game. And you're right about this. It's going to be something that's going to be flagged in the preseason. Incorrect flags, by the way, as the officials are learning this. And by week 4, we'll all forget about it.
Well, by week 4, the middle of the season, or it becomes a thing where at the end of next season, we're like, what were we thinking? We basically have banned tackling, because a lot of guys do rely on this as their primary method of tackling, and they want to get it out of the game. I get that. I think the Players Association pushing back on this rule is telling. It's because it's a confusing thing to try and legislate during the course of a game. It's not as clear and obvious as a face mask, which they miss all the time, or a horse collar, which they miss all the time.
That's another storyline here, too. Like the NFLPA doesn't feel as strong as it should.
Sure.
And this is like one thing that they should push back on, but what are they going to do? Why ban the hip drop tackle? Oh, it's all in the name of player safety.
Mm-hmm.
This is also the same weekend, Danger, where I saw these pictures coming out of Dallas. It was CONCACAF or some sort of FIFA match, a soccer match in Jerry World. And, well, you can't play on that. You need to play on real grass. Did you see this? While there wasn't any action, they bring out these carts with the UV lighting, the ultraviolet lighting to grow the grass indoors. And it can be done. They just don't want to do it.
Oh, no, they don't want to do it. It's an expense. And they had to do it for the soccer match,
right?
Yeah, no, they can absolutely do it, but it's an expense. They don't want to spend for. You have to add bodies and pay more people to maintain the field. No, not happening. No, we're good. The field's good. We have a minimal staff, and that's how we want it. How much do those UV lights cost?
I would love to know.
Pretty expensive, yeah. I imagine. I have a non-sports take today before we get to Rotolo. And you've heard me mention the parameters of a good take, Gino, and I think we agree on this. A good take splits an audience. A good take likely will make you mad because within every good take, there is a shred of truth, a possibility that no matter how ridiculous it may sound, it actually can still make sense. And I'm only bringing up the parameters of a good take because I feel like I experienced a good take while scrolling through my feed this weekend. And a side note here, if you're looking for takes, the best space for takes now has become TikTok. It's not Twitter anymore. It's not X. Just you got angry people just yelling at each other. There's no art. There's no nuance. If you want good takes, scroll through TikTok every now and then. I've never watched the Kardashians, but never had an issue with the person who would mention just how bad the Kardashians are for society. This family is... how bad this family has been. It's a show that just glamorizes and popularizes an unattainable level of lifestyle rich.
All right, stop right there. Why would that split an audience? Everybody's agreeing with you.
Not a take. Just rich, snotty socialites sitting around and manufacturing drama. This is from the Subway Takes account on TikTok, and it's a take that shook me to the core. The take is this. The Kardashians are not that bad for our society. I'll say it again. The Kardashians are not that bad for our society. Why do we hate on them so much? Yeah, they're annoying. I'll give you that. But there's also a level of empowerment to their hustle. And for some reason, because it's female driven, we feel the need to hate on them. They're all very entrepreneurial. They're strategic. And yes, they're even smart. I'll give them that. They're not that bad. If this was a show with a bunch of dudes hanging out, we would have the same level of hate towards them. Imagine a show with guys working out all the time and giving us access to their real life. We'd be like, wow, that's a great show. And if you push back on me on that point, I will show you the TV show Quarterback, the show everyone told me I had to watch. It's so good. The Quarterback show was nothing but the Kardashians for NFL fans. Receiver, the new show that's coming out, that's next. You have to see Receiver. What a great show. Thank the Kardashians if you think that show is good. They aren't that bad for our society.
All right, I'm going to give you the Kardashian take that I'm divided on. And I'm talking about the original Kardashian. Why are the Kardashians, kids? Anybody? Oh, that's right. Dad was a lawyer in L.A. Oh, that's right. He happened to be the BFF of Oj. And he allegedly, Danger, when whatever plane that OJ took off going to Chicago, and Kardashian takes allegedly whatever it was and threw it in the dumpster. So to the grave, Robert Kardashian died years ago. Yeah, he kind of knew it. So I don't like him for that reason. But how could you not like the portrayal in The People versus OJ?
You got it, Juice. When Chris and I broke up, the Juice was there for me every night. It's like he's not really the Juice anymore. We gotta get you dressed, Juice. Juice, a will? Juice. Come on, Juice. Juice, it's AC. Juice! AC's here! Juice, I heard Juice, it's on every channel. You know I feel the same, Juice. You're gonna tell them yourself, Juice. Juice, your whole family's here, Juice. She's on the house phone waiting to talk to you, Juice. Juice. Okay, Juice? Okay, Juice, we're good to go. You're home, Juice. You know Uncle Juice, and your Uncle Juice...
Good man.
Your Uncle Juice is a good man. He's never gonna stop being the Juice. It could explain a lot, Juice. Just hear him out, Juice. He's right, Juice. Listen, Juice. Juice, this is your life. Juice, please, Juice. Juice, we need an answer.
I swear I didn't share that take, but you don't have to give me an excuse to play David Schwimmer as Robert Kardashian in every instance of him saying the word juice in The People versus O.J. Simpson.
Did I telegraph that like a Ryan Leaf interception, Danger?
I knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming.
I mean, it's almost as if you say Kardashian, you just know it's coming. You know that every instance of David Schwimmer as Robert Kardashian saying the word juice is going to be played in the sports bar. But the take itself, it really shook me, like, because I've never watched the show, so I've been unfairly critical of a show. I just kind of go along with the crowd. Accidental, viral, critical consensus would be me saying what everybody says. Oh God, we hate on them, but they're entrepreneurial, they're smart, they're strategic. And really, when we watch Quarterback or this new Receiver show, all we're really for every Kim Kardashian, there's a Brittany Mahomes. You're watching the same thing. It's just dudes hanging out.
Then we shouldn't be critical of Brittany Mahomes because she's entrepreneurial. She's one of the owner of the soccer team out
I'm
there.
I'm not critical of Brittany Mahomes. I don't know who is. I don't understand.
No.
I'm not me. Not this broadcaster. Former RIT goaltender Mike Rotolo stopping by the sports bar next in studio. We've got the third camera set up.
Yeah, we do.
I love it. All right, we'll get to him next, and we'll get to happy hour as well. More on the way here. You can join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
RIT Tigers on their way to South Dakota. Thursday evening, a matchup against BU in the NCAA Men's Hockey Tournament. Mike Danger, Gene Battaglia, back with you in the Sports Bar, Rochester's only local sports talk show, and happy to welcome in studio former RIT goaltender Mike Rotolo. Man, it's good to meet you in person. Thanks for coming to the Sports Bar.
Absolutely, thanks for having me. Mike, I was never worried Saturday night. Tigers, I know Jordan Byro, Brandon Byro's younger brother, scores first, ends up being 2-2 after one. I'm thinking, no, I'm just looking at this. I'm like, that was more about RIT kind of starting slow and having a little jitters. And once they figure it out, no problem.
Yeah, I just thought the first period, nerves is always going to pop in a game like that, right? And to get out of that period 2-2, I didn't have really any worries. And then they got the power play to start the second. And once they scored, I was like, okay, now they can get more comfortable in their game.
Well, you're talking about a team that the Tigers haven't been here for so long. And, Mike, honestly, I thought that also was helping them out on Saturday night. I just looked at the AIC goaltender giving up some big rebounds, particularly the second one he let in, where Wilkie has the shot from the outside. Gonzalez gets a big fat rebound, makes it 2-1 at that point.
Yeah, I mean, he's a really good goalie, but I talked to Kevin on the pregame show, and I even said, one of the keys is they need to get him moving, because when he is set, he is very tough to beat. And you saw in the Gonzalez goal in the second period off the Wilkie shot, they got him moving laterally, and he was able to get that rebound and score. And then they also needed shots from the point, and on the power play, they kind of got that shot off the half wall, and then Wild was in front of the net where he always is and cashed that home, and they ended up getting the job done.
So, Mike, as they were unveiling the bracket last night on ESPN, one of the steady drum beats they kept hitting on RIT was, hey, they're the oldest team in the field. They're the oldest team in the... Is that an actual advantage for the Tigers heading into this field?
I mean, yes and no, right? Obviously, when you are older, you are going to be a little bit mature, and they're playing a team in Boston University who is relatively young. A lot of those players that they bring in are typically true freshmen, where guys like myself, even when you come to RIT, you might play a year or two out of high school before going to college. So you do get that maturity level, but I don't know necessarily if it's a major advantage. Obviously, with some of the experience and the older guys they have, they are an older team. They've been there before, and they just finally got over the hump, winning the Atlantic. So it could play a factor in Thursday's game.
Yeah, we're talking to Mike Rotolo joining us here in the Sports Bar. As I also think another big part of this too, Mike, wouldn't it have been nice to, when you were going through that, to have scholarships at that point? Because now you're actually starting to see it. This second line that the Tigers have, and these are first-year players of Fukakusa, Catalano, and Wild. For many other teams, any other team in this league, that's line number one, but to have that as line number two, now you're beginning to see, and that's the exciting part here. Whatever happens this year, hey, this is great, but we're just this is only getting going here.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking going into the game on Saturday, like, RIT is very deep and they're very good, but where would they be without that line this year? I mean, I'm sure they've exceeded expectations for what Wayne, Brian, and Dave always, had in mind coming into the season. But when you have three freshmen that have played together before and then they come in and they put up the numbers that they have, it's truly incredible. I was looking at it earlier today. They've combined for almost 80 points on the season, which you really don't see that anywhere in college hockey across the board for freshmen.
Is that the biggest change that you've seen in the sport since you played, that this idea that RIT now has these scholarship athletes?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. Obviously, for my bank account and student loans, I wish I had those back in the day. But no, it's going to be incredible for the program. Now, you're still going to lose out on those top players to your big schools. That's always going to be the case, right? People are going to want to go to your Minnesotas, your Bostons, your North Dakotas. But from a recruiting standpoint, specifically in the Atlantic hockey, it's going to give them just another edge up. And Wayne and the team have always recruited well, even without scholarships. We always won championships. They've always been at the top of the league. So now I really think this just kind of cements them as the team in the Atlantic hockey for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, for players that have options, certainly those Hockey East programs, or you have the blue chip programs. But, Mike, everybody wants to be part of something. And I felt anybody who went to Saturday night's game, you were a part of it. Just describe for our audience what that was like in that sold-out arena.
Well, I could sum it up. When I left the arena, I turned to Andrew Miller, who I used to play with, and I said I probably would have cut off all my toes to play in a championship atmosphere like that. And that's not a diss to the Blue Cross, but you play in such a large building, and when we played in our championship games there, it was during spring break, so you only had about 3,000 to 4,000 people. But to have 4,300 in that arena, that loud. I was sitting in there before the doors opened, and I remember watching everybody run into the corner crew to get their spots. This was an hour before warm-up started, so you could just feel the buzz in the building from the second the doors open, and then when the national anthem was getting ready to go, I just had chills down my entire body because it was an incredible atmosphere.
What are the guys getting ready for this week? What go back to when you were with the Tigers and the preparation that leads into being in the dance. What exactly are they going to do here this week to get ready for it?
This week's going to be probably a little bit tough for them, playing on a short week, right? They're playing Thursday, which I'm assuming they're going to be traveling tomorrow. If I had to guess, they're going to fly to South Dakota tomorrow. So it is going to be a little different in that aspect. And obviously you're preparing for a team that you've never played. In Boston University. I mean, they're a very, very skilled team. They have 14 NHL draft picks. But in the same sense, RIT's almost playing with house money, right? Every time a team from the Atlantic Hockey gets into the tournament, nobody really gives them credit. So they're going in there, and they've been nationally recognized all year. So a lot of these teams might not realize how good they actually are and how deep they are of a team, and I think they have the caliber and the roster to shock a lot of people this weekend.
Yeah, the Tigers beating Notre Dame this year, beat a Hockey East team, actually took, if it was the 3-2-1, and they took the majority of points against a New Hampshire team. And yet I'm just kind of reading online that, everybody's talking about, the idea that, who's the better opponent, Minnesota or Omaha? I'm just kind of stunned what I'm reading here coming out of Boston University. And I just, you are a student of RIT hockey. Does this not feel like 2010 kind of repeating, where the Tigers were the 15 seed that year and they were supposed to just be happy, and then all of a sudden they take a 2-1 win over Denver, and then, one win here to get to the NCAA Frozen Four?
Yeah, I mean, nobody's expecting them to win, right? Especially probably in the Boston media at that campus, Boston University. They're probably already starting to prep for the game on Saturday, that would be to get to the Frozen Four. But when you start to do that, that's when you start to get in trouble. And it kind of reminds me of our year, my sophomore season, when we beat Minnesota State Mankato, and they were the number one seed. It felt like we got into that game and they didn't really respect us and what we brought to the table. And when that's the case, if you can go out and you start fast in those first 10 minutes and you can punch a team in the mouth, then they kind of get that wake up like, okay, this team belongs here and we better buckle up.
Yeah, in a winner-take-all scenario, anything can happen, right? And I would flip the script. I would say, all right, let's assume that RIT gets the win on who's a better opponent for RIT. Are we talking about Omaha? Are we talking about Minnesota, Mike?
Yeah, the thing too, Danger, is I'm watching this last night. Did you know that the school was named the Rochester Tigers?
Oh,
I had no idea, the Rochester Tigers. And people had pointed this out up on ESPN yesterday when they announced the seedings. It was Boston University against RPI. I've got the screenshot of it.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
I mean, if there's not enough motivation for this team. Also, too, Atlantic Hockey. Shame on Atlantic Hockey, whoever hands out those awards, because really the Tigers should have swept it.
Yes.
And the leading defenseman, Danger, in the league, in the all NCAA, is Casero for RIT. 17 goals, most amongst NCAA defensemen. Yet, Mike, he's not the best in the conference. We have to give it to the guy from AIC to balance things out here.
Yeah, and I was talking a couple weeks ago, and I was saying it's not a charity case. This is Division I athletics. The best players should be awarded, and they should get the recognition they deserve. I mean, you could look up and down that lineup. Matthew Wild should have been the Rookie of the Year in the entire conference. He didn't even make the all-rookie team. Right. I truly believe, if you follow me on X, I am the #1 Tommy Scarfoni fan. He should have been the Player of the Year and the Goalie of the Year in the Atlantic Hockey, because I truly believe he is a top 1, 2, or 3 goalie in the entire country right now. So, yeah, they should have cleaned house. They should have been first team, second team, third team. They should have had every Player of the Year. But, hey, it's an extra chip on your shoulder.
Yeah, Mike Rotolo, our guest here, coming in. What is this week like where, hey, you're celebrating, this is great, oh, it's Sunday, you're really short week. So just kind of logistics here, because I'm trying to remember, where did you guys go for Minnesota State?
Minnesota State, we ended up going to South Bend. We played at Notre Dame.
That's right. So this is even further out there. So, how many practices do you get in? 1, 2, maybe?
Yeah, not a lot. I mean, I'm going to imagine most of this week is going to be obviously between the travel tomorrow. They'll probably skate Wednesday, get a full skate in there, and then they'll probably skate again Thursday morning. But with the game time being at obviously 4 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Eastern, you don't know how long or if they're really going to skate that much on Thursday. But I'd imagine a lot of that time is going to be spent in meetings, watching film, breaking down, obviously, Boston's power play, their penalty kill, and kind of see what they like to do in special team situations.
Mike, the format and the way it's structured with these regionals drives me insane. Denver, as a 1 seed, is basically traveling across the country to play against the 4 seed in their region in what amounts to be a home matchup for UMass in Springfield. You have 3 Michigan teams in one region. It just feels like the NCAA, in all their wisdom, is kind of shortchanging college hockey here and not giving it the prop. Now, I know, there's a balancing act here. You were just describing playing a game at Blue Cross Arena where you didn't have capacity versus capacity at the Gene that you saw on Saturday night. Where is that delicate balance? Because it's one thing to say we're playing to a half-empty arena versus a 2,500 seat venue when there are more people that would go to those games than just the 2,500.
Yeah, it's a really weird format. I think they need to kind of do away with the host teams are fine, but to reward a team UMass had a great season, don't get me wrong, but they're the 4 seed, Denver's the 1 seed, and now UMass is the host, and they're, like you said, playing a home game. So it doesn't even seem fair. And from the opposite end of that, now BU is the number 2 overall seed, and they got to travel to South Dakota. And same with RIT, where both teams have great fan bases that travel well, and you don't know how many people are going to show up to there. And then you got North Dakota, who's probably going to have 1,000 people outside begging for tickets to get into the arena to watch the game. So, yeah, I don't like the format and how they do it with the host teams, and you can't play interconference in the first round. I think it should be 1 through 16 down the board, and you should be seeded and placed in your regional based off where you finished and how close you are in proximity to that regional location.
Well, so Mike, should RIT stick their nose in their meaning? And we were talking about this last week. If the Tigers weren't in the NCAA tournament, I got to be honest, I don't know how this would draw. There was an Atlantic hockey semifinal between Air Force and Army, and there's no one there. I mean, there's a lot of reasons for that. In the NCAA tournament, I don't know how much greater that would be, but we are so provincial and we love our Tiger hockey. And if you see the program on the upswing, and if these rules are intact, if you know you're the host school and you get in as a 4, should RIT kind of push the host? Because if as a 4 they host here, that's a much bigger story. And I would guess they come pretty darn close to selling that out.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's why it's very absurd to me how they do that. And I mean, if this was a closer regional and RIT is the 4 seed and the host team, they would be sold out. I mean, if this was at the Blue Cross was a regional and RIT, again, as the host school, there'd be 10,000 people in there, and there'd be a line out the door trying to get those tickets, and then you're kind of screwed as a 1 seed going into a hostile environment. So they need to rework something. Like you kind of mentioned, they put it on the back burner. I feel like all of their focus goes into basketball and football, and obviously those are the big money makers, so that's kind of how it's always going to be, unfortunately.
What have you been doing since your RIT days?
Working, married. I'm a father now, so it's awesome. It's definitely, as time goes on, I get more and more sad the further I get removed from RIT, but I go to as many games as I can every year. I love the program, love what it means to me, what it was able to give to my family, and it is my extended family now, but just working and being a dad, those are my 2 main things.
Still playing though, right?
I do play men's league on Thursday nights. Yep.
Where are you at?
Lakeshore.
All right. Yeah. Your boy can't play anymore, man. I tore my ACL years ago, and now it's like, your wife will, maybe she won't, but my wife was like, you tear your ACL again, you're never getting into skates. I'm like, all right, I'm going to save that chip so that I can still play from time to time when I want to.
Yeah, the season's insanely long. It's fun. I play with a few of the guys I used to play at RIT with, Josh Mitchell, Andy Miller, and Garrett McMullen, who lives out of town now, but when he's home, he plays with us too. So it's a good time to get with the guys, but the season is longer from a month standpoint than any hockey season I've ever played. I think we start in September, and we still have 4 regular season games left before playoffs, so I'm ready for it to be done soon.
So are you watching at home with a cold one on Thursday? Are you going out to the Policini? I guess they're doing a watch party out there, Mike.
Yeah, I just actually saw that in my truck when I was outside, so I'm undecided. I may take a trip down to the Policini if a couple of boys want to go and kind of watch that. It would be really cool, and I'm kind of excited to see if there is any type of traction that gets going with fans heading down to South Dakota. I know it's a 16, 17-hour ride, but that corner crew loves their team, and I wouldn't be shocked if they sent a few hundred people for that
talk
game.
About that a little bit, because I got to imagine the quick turnaround probably doesn't make it easy. It is a long drive. It's not a very eventful drive. I've done that drive. Do you think that the Tigers will travel well?
I would like to say I hope so, but again, like you said, I mean, getting the Thursday game, getting the Thursday at 5:00 game, it is a really tough thing to do, right? You got people have jobs, they have lives, they have school, so it's tough when you throw that all in there. I wouldn't be shocked, like I said, if there was a couple hundred people. If it was closer, I'd imagine they would have over 1,000 fans.
Not too many direct flights to Sioux Falls.
Oh, I tried that. You can go to Chicago and jump over, but you're looking at $500 one way.
Yeah.
What if you did? I'm wondering. Okay, so if you did Minneapolis, then you would have to do. You'd probably still have to do a connection. Then you're getting a rental car, and then
it's just a big old mess.
There's no easy way.
Yeah. Mike, you're old enough to remember the Frozen Four, and I went out there for that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're here. And if I felt that way, I think the Tigers felt that way. Losing to Wisconsin, what do you remember about that year?
Oh, I just remember how magical that run was, and again, RIT getting in. I remember, too, it was so old school, they didn't even have names on the back of their jersey.
Right.
So people probably went in there like, who the heck is RIT? Where is this school located? And they went in there and shocked the world, right? They beat UNH the first night, if I remember, or Denver the first.
Denver
then
2-1,
UNH, 6-2.
Yep.
Yeah, and then they got, obviously, to the Frozen Four at Ford Field, where it didn't go as well, but those teams that were in that Frozen Four with Wisconsin and Boston College, those teams were loaded. But that run was so special, and I truly believe this is RIT's best team in Division I program history from the net out.
Better than 20, because you had Chris Tanev on that team.
Yes, I just, from a depth standpoint, I mean, that team was incredible. I might have some recency bias right now, but, I mean, when you look at the depth they have, not only at the forward position and on defense on the back end, and like I said, arguably the best goalie in the country right now in Tommy Scarfoni. I don't know if there's a guy hotter than him. He gave up 6 goals in 5 playoff games. He's got a almost .930 save percentage on an entire season, playing almost 40 games. He's incredible.
So, Danger, like, I got to meet, and the thing about when we were doing the pregame, I never get to meet some of the parents. This gentleman comes up to me. He's like, very soft-spoken, like, hey, I'm Tommy's father. I just want to say you and John do a great job. I'm like, Mr. Scarfoni, it's a pleasure to meet you. Like, you,
of course, he was polite. Of course, he went up to you and was soft-spoken. You want to know why, Gino? Because he's Italian! And of course, we got Rotolo over here saying Scarfoni's his favorite because he's Italian.
He is just an incredible goaltender. Truthfully, and I love Jared DeMichael. I'm still close with him. We text here and there. Congrats to him on winning the Big Ten championship with Michigan State. What that program's been able to do is incredible. They never even made it to a conference championship, let alone win one. So, but Shane Matalora, Jared DeMichael, Logan Drackett after me. I just think from a complete skill set, mindset, Tommy Scarfoni is the best goalie that's ever played in that Tiger uniform.
Mike, let's look at the region here and let's try to find a path to get the Tigers into the Frozen Four. You have to beat Boston, obviously, step one. Who presents a better matchup for them if they're able to advance beyond Boston?
That region's going to be tough. Obviously, BU is going to be the toughest task in that region. I think regardless, you win that first game versus Boston University, then you're really, then you're putting the teams you're going to play the next night, whether it's Minnesota, Omaha. Then they're on their heels. They're like, okay, these guys just beat Boston University, who's been the number 2 team in the country the entire year. If you can do that, then you go into that game on. Do they have a day off, or is it back-to-back Thursday, Friday?
I say it's a Saturday.
Thursday, Saturday.
You get a day off. Yeah.
Okay, then you go Saturday, and it's anybody's game from there. And we kind of experienced that my one year. We beat Mankato, and then we went into that game against Omaha, and we dominated them. I mean, we outshot them, I want to say 42-20. We just ran into a goalie, and I believe his name was Ryan Massa, who was just incredible. And we couldn't get the puck by him that night, and that ended up being the difference. And that's also the thing with RIT they have to their advantage. If you get hot goaltending this time of the year, you can beat anybody, any night, at any time.
Mike, if you haven't noticed, Danger, Mike Rotolo is also a master takesman. So here, I'm going to just give you a big old softball. Ready? Nick Sirianni, head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. What's your thought here on the team underachieving Mike Rotolo?
Oh, you had to do it to me. The very disappointing finish. For anybody that follows me on X, I'm very sorry for the profanity I use. I love my Philadelphia Eagles. They are my number 1 sports team. I still think it was a coordinator issue, but again, that comes down to the head coach because he hires the coordinators.
Right.
So I think this is probably Nick's year to, you either got to make another run at it or you're going to be gone. So we'll see. They've done some good things in the offseason so far. They need to add a bit more depth on the back end of the defense because in Vic Fangio's defense, he likes to move guys around. We'll see what they could do. But I like Nick. I think, you saw some interviews at the end of the year.
Of course you like Nick, because he's Italian.
I do, but you got some interviews with guys like Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox at the end of the season who are true to their words and they back him. So if you got guys like that who've been around the organization for 12, 13 years, he's got to be doing something right. But we'll see this year.
Couple thoughts. One, as I'm a Bears guy, so I knew what you were getting in Sean Desai when he was the defensive coordinator. I didn't feel good about that, and that kind of Sean Desai maybe not up to that caliber of defensive coordinator, especially when you have the kind of talent that Philadelphia has. And two, the season really took a turn when Big Dom was not on the sideline anymore, Mike. I mean, really, that was kind of like the turning point. Big Dom getting the boot.
Yeah.
You got to have Big Dom next to Sirianni, otherwise he's not the same coach.
That was the one thing I didn't like when that report came out that Dom helps control his emotions on the sideline. That's a little worrisome if your head of security is the reason that you stay even keeled during a football game as an NFL head coach. But hey, Big Dom will be back for the entire season. Saquon Barkley's an Eagle, which is really cool. I mean, we haven't had a back in Philly that can catch, run, and block like he can probably since Shady, and Shady wasn't the best blocker, but I'm excited for football season.
Mike Rotolo, you can give him a follow on X, but be advised there's going to be some takes on there. At Mike Rotolo 35. Mike, this is great having you in. By the way, last time you were in, do you remember what happened that day? Because Danger was on vacation. You came in, you left, and then 1 second after you left, Russ Brandon was fired.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was the day?
That was the day, yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. I wasn't here that day.
You had a wake in Minnesota, I want to say, Danger.
Oh, right.
Yep.
You
had to go back for him.
God. Crazy. Dude, thanks for coming in.
No, thank you for having me.
I hope nothing bad happens when he leaves here.
Now,
breaking news as Mike is leaving. But
Shohei Ohtani is yet to speak here.
No, we haven't gotten that yet.
We haven't gotten that yet.
Lifetime ban.
5:45 Eastern?
I thought yes. So that's right. Yeah, the 2:45 Pacific there.
All right, well, Mike, you'll remember this day when Shohei Ohtani is banned for life for gambling on baseball. We'll get into that here in a little bit. Mike, appreciate you stopping by, man. Have a great week.
Thank you, guys. You too.
There he is, former RIT goaltender Mike Rotolo joining us here in the Sports Bar. We'll take a break. Happy Hour is on the way next. We'll talk a little Shohei. We'll get caught up on all of the day's events and a weekend that was. It was an exciting one for the RIT Tigers, as we've been discussing. You're in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, your calls welcome at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Obviously, a whole lot of talk about the NCAA tournament, and we're waiting on Shohei. Got thoughts on the NFL, owners' meetings, and more.
The NFL has banned the hip drop tackle.
We got a raw deal.
Will Clapp is the offensive lineman they had, and Austin Johnson is the defensive lineman that they had.
Daquan Jones! He has to wear the same suit and socks and shoes and, yes, the same Red Dragon underwear.
Mike Danger.
I don't believe in jinxes. I don't believe in that nonsense. I don't know how you are. I know we can be superstitious, but I don't believe in jinxes.
No. Gene Battaglia.
The Tigers are the champions of Atlantic Hockey!
RIT is set to take on Boston University.
Go Tigers! Final score from the Blue Cross Arena. Rochester Americans 4, Utica Comets 1. Go Barrels!
Let's go, Buffalo! Here come the Buffalo Sabres!
And the Sabres pick up a 4-1 victory.
Let's get ready for opening day.
Let's go, Mets. Go Braves.
Caitlin Clark is back on the floor tonight.
We're back.
They just shouldn't cover basketball.
So I get my my beef Wellington.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan. Rochester.
Welcome to Happy Hour in the Sports Bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. We're glad you're with us at 95.7 FM, AM 950. Our stream up at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch. You can get us in the Odyssey app. You can get us on your smart device. Just ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. And we'd love to hear from you during Happy Hour. 585-8664-FAN, 866-4326. Man, that was fun having former RIT goaltender Mike Rotolo here in studio with us, Gino.
I'm so happy he stayed in town. He feels like Rochester, does he not?
He's totally a Rochester guy.
No, specifically West Side Rochester.
That's my guy.
Yeah,
that's my dude right there. That guy, that's the kind of guy that I'm like, dude, I want to hang out with Rotolo. Let's watch hockey. Let's drink beers. Let's talk about men's league hockey and the NHL and college hockey. And it was a good hang. And he's high, man. He's high on these Tigers.
Yeah. It says, all right, the best team since 2010. Like, whoa, that was a team that, God, Chris Tanev is still in the NHL. He's playing for Dallas now. I mean, well, top to bottom, yes. I mean, like, this team has the talent. Danger in a word, it's hockey. Can this team do it? It's hockey. If they can get through 20, if they can get through 40, and then you get out of there with a 2-1 win. They won as a 2 seed over, as a 15 over a 2 way back when. So, look, I understand. Like, hey, I'm not really following it. Get on the bandwagon here. If you're listening to our show, chances are you like Rochester and you like Rochester sports. So come on. But to ESPN, okay, the school is not named Rochester. That's a University of Rochester. We're not the Rochester Tigers, okay?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Yeah, well, look, the RPI graphic is an unforgivable sin.
It's down now, but when the schedule went up on the ESPN website, it had Boston University taking on the RPI, whatever they are, the Engineers.
It's funny, man, because a good part of the country doesn't understand the Atlantic coast or the Northwest, or the Northeast, I should say, where we are. If you grow up in the Midwest like I did, I remember the year that RPI made a deep run. I think they won a national title one of those years in the 80s.
In the 80s,
In the 80s, when I was growing up, right?
Yeah.
And I remember not even knowing what RPI stood for, where RPI was. It didn't compute with me. It didn't make any sense. Boston, yes. Boston University, sure. Michigan Tech, all the Michigan schools, yeah. But if you were to throw RIT at me, I'd be like, what the hell is RIT? If you're going to throw Quinnipiac at me, well, I don't know what Quinnipiac is. What It just is.
It works both ways, Danger, though. This is how we learn geography. You're like, where is Creighton, everyone?
Creighton is in Kansas City. No, I'm wrong. It's in Omaha.
Oh, I thought I had you there.
No, it's in Omaha. Kansas City is where they're doing. No, I'm sorry. St. Louis is where they're doing one of the regionals for the college hockey tournament.
Which is a joke. A 25-seat or 100-seat arena?
Yeah.
2,500.
Yeah, that feels like you might be shortchanging the game a little bit there.
That feels like somebody wrote the NCAA a check. Come on over to our place. Like, give it to RIT and let them host at the Blue Cross Arena, for crying out loud, or any other venue. The whole idea that UMass gets to host, even though they're the 4 seed, and that Denver has to go on the road, that BU has to go on the road. It's all messed up.
It's flawed. It's definitely flawed. But look, and I know that it'll be interesting to see just how well the Tigers commute, like how well they travel with the team. I'm not holding my breath because Sioux Falls is a tough destination. That's not an easy place to get to from Rochester, New York.
No. Like, what, a $500 flight? So crossed my mind for a second, Danger. Could I do the show
$500
from South Dakota?
$500 flight, so you would go Rochester, Chicago, Sioux Falls?
Yeah.
One way or round trip?
No, one way.
One way. So round trip, you're talking... Whew.
Yeah.
You're talking $1,000.
And since taxes are on my mind here, Danger, the old days, it used to be like, oh, it's an expense. Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah.
Peter writing in, listening to Mike Rotolo makes this basketball guy love hockey. That is the highest compliment you could give anybody, Peter.
Yeah. Well, it's because you're hearing it from a guy who's one of us. Like, this is a guy that grew up in Greece, played in Greece, RIT, got them to the dance. I mean, like, it's a great story.
It's also, there was something he said that you hear this from many athletes too. I would give all my toes to be in this game. Like, knowing that you were there and now life after the sport. And yes, Mike didn't play professional hockey, but to see the guys now getting to a place where he was a big part of it, Minnesota State, but maybe this 2024 team gets further than the team from 8 years ago now.
God, that would be fun. That happens Thursday evening, 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
The Sioux Falls region.
Do we have yet? Wow, I can put it on my phone.
We'll find a way to be distracted during happy hour. I'm going to be distracted during happy hour on Thursday for other reasons. I'll have one foot out the door.
That's correct. Yeah. Sorry, everybody. You're stuck with me next week here.
Yeah, spring break. So we're making the annual pilgrimage south.
Baseball writer will not be happy if we're talking hockey and other things on Thursday because that is opening day.
Oh, that's right.
Opening day.
Well, there might be a little bit of a black eye on opening day. I guess a lot of it depends on what we hear later this hour from Shohei Ohtani.
So yesterday, the word came out that Shohei Ohtani was going to address reporters. Oh, okay. And this is really good PR, I'm thinking. All right, you have a problem. Either own up to it or explain to everybody what happened and make it right. I think that's kind of what just minimal expectation here. No, that's kind of not what's going to happen at 5:45 our time here coming up. Shohei will get in front of reporters. He will read a prepared statement that his lawyers crafted, and he
Can
will
we not call it a press conference? Because it's not a press conference.
It's not. It's absolutely not. It's a statement that he is reading himself. And here's what I know about Shohei Ohtani. And I guess in a story, you got to wait for all the facts to come out. I see a man in Shohei Ohtani that, put the betting aside, the fact that this interpreter, his professional life is over. He's not working anywhere here. He's not doing anything. I don't believe for a second, okay, that he stole money. I don't believe for a second that the interpreter basically got into $4.5 million of debt by himself, and this is his buddy, his employer, Shohei, bailing him out. You have reports now that this is going to go way deeper. Now, when I read you this, Danger, I'm going to put the objection up front, meaning I'm going to tell you if I read this, you're going to say, well, yeah, consider the source. The source is a bookie, okay? But going on 106.7, our sister station, the Fan in D.C., handicapper Brandon Lang, okay? He knows people in this industry. Brandon Lang on one of our stations today said he has it on good authority that Ohtani owed a bookie between $7 million and $25 million for soccer bets. And that, Ippei Mizuhara is basically the fall guy because of the raid. Yeah, why does that not shock me? Now, again, this is a bookie telling you this. I understand the objection. Let's get a more credible source. Well, okay, who was out in front of this? Was it the Angels? Was it Major League Baseball? Oh, no, it was the Feds. It was the Feds. And if you could pick an organization in sports that really wouldn't be paying attention, really wouldn't look at the player's best interest, wouldn't be looking out for him. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Los Angeles Angels, the organization that literally let a pitcher die under their watch because their PR director convicted of giving him poison. I rest my case.
Yeah, not a great environment to begin your Major League Baseball journey or your journey to just adapting to American culture. There's probably a lot of sketchy things happening inside the clubhouse of the Anaheim Angels when you look at their kind of checkered past. Hard for me to believe that it was anybody but Ohtani making the bets. Now, everything that we've heard up to this point, I don't think we've heard anything about him betting on baseball, which I guess is a silver lining here, because if he was betting on baseball and we found out that he was betting on baseball, we would be talking about a lifetime ban, I would imagine.
Correct. And let me give a sidebar too here, because I'm going to eliminate somebody's objection. Well, why is it so bad? If he loves his Angels or Dodgers, why not bet on my own team, Danger? You've heard that one before. What Pete Rose would do is he would bet on the Reds Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then every time Mario Soto's turn in the rotation, his weakest starting pitcher, he would not place a bet. So it was the days that he did not place a bet on the team, he was signaling everybody else. That was the problem there. That is the problem why you can't do it, because there's other ways you could send messages to the betting community how to behave here.
Which angle do you think they're going to pursue the most? I mean, they've already ruined this poor interpreter's life. Well, not ruined it, but he's going to have to reinvent. He's going to have to come up with what's next, right? And who knows how far this goes with the feds investigating, but do you think it's Ohtani using his interpreter as the conduit for the bets? Do you think it's Ohtani letting the interpreter actually have access to his accounts and not realizing that his interpreter was spending all of this money? Or do you think it was Ohtani truly just saying, hey, I'll float you the loans, and the interpreter was the one that was actually making the bets?
Well, see, that's the third one I thought originally, but now you're hearing these other sources that it's Ohtani. The second one is a problem, Danger, because if anything that Ohtani knows about the money, then you have just committed a crime in California, punishable by up to 2 years or a fine. And if that's the case, well, then Major League Baseball has to do something. That's why when the story is going along and it's the opening day of the NCAA tournament and we're at the tap room at Bill Gray's and we're talking about this, and Major League Baseball not doing anything. Finally, 6 o'clock Eastern on Friday. Oh, yeah, we're going to investigate. Yeah, it's about time you damn investigated. And this is Rob Manfred's league here, Danger. There's another part of this. Is baseball really want to expose that their number one star has this issue?
The attorney for the bookie is floating out the last excuse that I threw out there, that this was Mizuhara just not being good, getting into this debt and having a strong enough friendship with Ohtani that Ohtani would basically back him and give him credit and let him, instead of stepping in and saying, yeah, you're not good at gambling, stop wasting my money. That's what the bookie's lawyer is kind of like floating out there.
Well, and again, for like some, you have financial planners, you have attorneys, you have an agent, you have everything else. I would point to the Angels here, Brian writing it, and this is another angle here too, that I could point out, like, the interpreter is getting his life ruined. His resume is full of S. Like, literally in his resume, he said he went to this school, he worked for the Red Sox. They never heard of him. So that's also part of this, too, is like, yeah, he wouldn't be the first guy to lie on a resume. And the problem is when you lie on a resume, well, the lie doesn't go away. Like, it's out there forever there once you do it. So, Brian, I don't know if that means that Shohei's innocent, but it's something we have to point out.
That the interpreter might just be a habitual liar.
That too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that he's going to speak to the media, not take questions. It's not a press conference, but he's going to read his statement. What are they saying here at 5:45?
At 5:45.
All right. So before we close up shop, maybe we'll have a little bit of a sense of what could be next here with the Shohei Ohtani investigation. Exactly what Major League Baseball wanted the week that they start playing games that are meaningful.
That's right. And the weird thing is, you realize, wait a second, the Dodgers are 1-1 on this season. Those games actually counted. Because I'm so confused. Last night they do was Shohei's first game at Dodger Stadium, an exhibition game. Like, what other sport does that where you play 2 games and now we're going to go back to spring training and now coming up we're going to have.
Yeah, it's a little disjointed. They're doing Japan next year. Is that what I saw?
Yeah.
They're going to do the same thing again.
They'll do the same thing again. They did it in Australia years ago. This is There's no putting the genie back in the bottle danger.
No,
the
I get
NFL
it.
is going to have more and more and more.
If there's money to be made, I get it. They're going to make it, as much as we might not like it. Yeah, we'll have to live with it. Kind of along those lines, and we touched on this a little bit last hour, and this was something that came out of the Buffalo News, is we've been wondering ever since the talk of a new stadium for Buffalo began. Oh, come on. What's the PSL going to be? I mean, you got to understand how these other teams have been operating with their new stadium. When you're a season ticket holder, you have to buy the PSL, the seat license, the personal seat license, before you can even talk about the tickets. And it's a one-time fee, and it's a lot of money. And do we have the wealth as a region to support what they're going to ask us to pay for these seats? And now it's becoming real when you have, in this story from the Buffalo News, a season ticket holder who's been a season ticket holder through the generations. My father, my grandfather, now me, and now I don't know that I can afford to have the seats that I've had all this time.
Why would you be entitled? That would be my thing. Why would you think you were entitled? Like you don't own the team. You know it's moving to a new house here, and if you can't afford that particular seat, then go up top or don't go at all. The Pagulas have made a business decision, okay? And it's the NFL that made this decision. You weren't going to build a stadium without the PSL. Why? Because everybody does it. And why? What does the PSL mean? The PSL means this, Danger, is, hey, who's paying for this stadium? Well, it's the state of New York. Well, it's Erie County. Oh, and the Pagulas are putting in their share. The Pagulas are fronting their share. They're getting it back from you. That's what the PSL is, okay? So it's you. So you're paying this through your taxes, and also if you want to go, well, then...
It's a good double dip.
Yeah.
And then also on top of that, the triple dip, if you factor in that you're somebody that has to finance and you're going to be dealt with an interest rate of over 10%.
Here's the part of the story that I do not like. Tell us. It's almost like they don't want you to know these because, well, it's going to become a story, and then it'll become, what do you call it, accidental virus?
It's accidental viral critical consensus.
Except that it would be it would be the consensus. Like, wait a second, we just gave you all these tax dollars, and now people aren't paying attention to the story here. This was always going to be part of this.
We've been talking about it the entire time, and you can be mad at the Pagulas, you could be mad at the NFL. This is the cost of doing business in the NFL when the stadium is the moneymaker. The stadium is the star. The stadium is all that the owners care about. And the Pagulas got theirs. And the Pagulas got a record amount of state funding for theirs. The NFL loves that, by the way. Loves the dollar sign that's next to how much money they got from New York State. Loves some Kathy Hochul. And you can't break what they've done here. I want to say that 20 of the 32 teams have done the PSL, through getting a new stadium or renovations to a new stadium. And so they're just following the business of the NFL. And the NFL has us so much so that you could be opposed to everything that we're talking about, everything that you're hearing. I'm opposed to taxpayer dollars going to a stadium. I'm opposed to paying upwards of $50,000 for the best seats in the new Highmark Stadium. You're still going to watch on Sunday. You're still going to want to go to a game from time to time. And that's the power of the NFL.
Well, it's supply and demand. That's just the basic thing. I had a friend, Danger, who, when the Sabres were at their peak, and it was the year that Drury leaves, I think it was Briere. I don't know if you remember that year. It's a couple. Well, I'm writing an angry letter to Larry Quinn. Like I'm a season ticket holder, and I'm gonna do. So when did it happen in the story? Larry Quinn calls him back.
Yeah.
What do you think Larry Quinn said?
He said, "Hey, sorry you feel the way that you feel. So what you're telling me is you want me to give up your seats?"
Yeah, I got your letter, and look, I've got other people that want your seats. Do you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Literally, that was the conversation. Now, I would think that nobody from the Buffalo Bills is going to say it that way, but that is why you're getting the
what's happening.
You're getting the heavy-handed. Hey, do you want the seats or not? No? Okay. Oh, I need more time to think about it. You and I and every other reasonable person would say, you know what? I need to think about this. I got to talk to my wife. Nope. You need to sign right here. Well, guess what? You back of the line when you do that, buddy.
I wonder what it does to the soul of the fan base. Because if it does weed out those who can't afford it anymore, or in this instance, in this story, I'm worried that I've only got 2 more years to watch. And to your point, you're not entitled to anything. This is the way it's going to be. And they've got a long list of people waiting to spend their money. And they'll tap into that if they have to. But I wonder what it does to the game day experience, to the soul of the fan base. Do you get a different kind of fan? And I'll only say this. I've been to a Super Bowl. And if you've been to a Super Bowl, you want to imagine that it's fans of the 2 teams that are there, but it really isn't. It's a social gathering. It's wealth. It's family members of players and coaches and other teams that don't really have a rooting interest. It's just, we're here to be seen, or we're here to be a part of this. And yeah, there are some fans there, but it's not like what we've seen for generations in Orchard Park.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be a little more upscale, but then again, you're going into a new stadium where the behavior should, like the idea that you're going to have people jumping through tables and everything else. I guess you can go down and tailgate, but those type of people that are going to be coming in, the Bills want to get rid of them. They've been trying to get rid of them. Like, we want your money. And the idea, Danger, I'll say this. Like, if you are Gen X, you grew up in the Super Bowl era, maybe your kids are out of college now. Now you have some money to spend. Okay. And the idea that maybe you're just kind of starting out for the first time. And you know what? $1,000 PSL, that's a one-time thing. Like, they will sell this out. They will sell this out.
$1,000 PSL I can listen to.
Yeah,
I would listen to $1,000. I would listen to $5,000.
Well, what people are fixated on is the club price, the $50,000.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah,
and that's and
that's your Rossolino and all the people that can afford that.
That's the sticker shock of right now. Those are the best seats in the club level. You get a different experience when you go, and you're right there between the 40-yard line. So I understand why those are priced the way they're priced. Who's buying them? And do you have enough people saying, yeah, I want in? What is it, the PSL, 50 grand? Yeah, I want in.
Well, the analogy, I will do this because we have baseball coming up. Baseball. They cut the soul out of Yankee Stadium. They really did.
Yes.
They did. When you look at that, my buddy Brian calls it the moat. Like, the other parts of the stadium, fine, but what you see on TV is the moat. And the moat is the big comfy chair and the club level underneath and all the seats that go unused. Okay, sure, if there's a big game against the Red Sox, or sure, if the Yankees get back in the postseason, there'll be people sitting there. But your run-of-the-mill Wednesday night game, they're empty. They cut the soul out of the Yankee fan base with that, honestly. So the idea that maybe the club level, Danger, will be just,
yes. Pass the caviar, lovey. We paid $50,000 for this. Private bathroom? I think I will.
I'm Jim Boeheim.
Oh, hey, Jim.
There's no...
Jim, we wanted to talk to you a little bit about your season tickets for the Buffalo Bills. Do you have a moment? Because we feel like we have an experience that you will enjoy. We'll take a virtual tour of the stadium here shortly. We want to let you know you have these club level seats. They're fantastic. They're between the 40s. You can pick whichever seat you want. The premium, the personal seat license is a premium price, Jim. It's $50,000. But I can tell you that club level seating, we will be serving beef Wellington at halftime. Are you in? Sign on the line which is dotted.
Well, Wild Hack will sign off on this. We'll just bill it to the school, and as long as there's, you did your research there, I
know you're a big fan. You're a big fan of the beef Wellington.
Beef Wellington.
Because only one thing counts in this life. Get them to sign on the line which is dotted.
That's what I want at the Buffalo Bills experience. I want Alec Baldwin showing up with a pair of brass balls going, you know what it takes to sell PSLs in Western New York?
The part of the story that kills me, though, for people that go through, you sign and they play the shout song like you just scored the touchdown. You're part of the team. Bam, bam,
Wait, are you
bam,
supposed to say
bam.
that? I thought that got it. That's part of the non-disclosure agreement. Now it's not a surprise anymore. Oh, man, the magic is gone. Gene, you just ruined it for everybody. That's what they play when you don't sign, by the way, when you walk out because you have sticker shock.
I want to know has anybody from Rochester been on the list yet? Like, literally, are they making you? Honestly, I don't know. Are they making you drive out to Buffalo?
There might be some white collars that are in our town that are heading their way out there to do. Nobody that listens to this show, I don't think.
No,
I don't think anybody that listens to us would have the means to go out there and be approached to spend 20 to 50 grand on a PSL.
The Evan Dawson show, maybe. That would
maybe. Well, for some investigative purposes. We got to get to a round of shots next in the sports bar.
Yeah, so great weekend locally for RIT. Great weekend for the Amerks, too. We'll kind of set you up for that. Kim, we haven't even gotten to Kim Mulkey.
Oh, my God, one of our favorites.
Well, she had more words today. Oh, no, the Washington Post story hasn't dropped.
More words today? Yeah. Didn't she say enough this weekend?
Oh, no, she's not done yet, Danger.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and which sports film are they making a sequel? And I don't know where you're going to come down on this. Yay or nay on this.
All right. Have you seen the speaking of sequels, Roadhouse? Have you seen the trailers for the new Roadhouse on Prime? They're doing a new Roadhouse. Jake Gyllenhaal is the Patrick Swayze character, and McGregor is the baddie.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that wants to see it, but I'm so worried that it's going to be so bad. Or is it going to be so bad that it's good?
Well, whenever you have to do the whole reboot and it's all different people playing the different characters, I'm fine. Like, hey, we're going to skip in the future and you're kind of... This movie, it's actually what they're talking about is same people that were playing the same characters.
All right, I can't wait to find out what this is. We're going to get to that next with a round of shots. And last call coming up at 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326.
You're listening to the... If you want pure, unfiltered, unadulterated sports, you've come to the right place. 95.7 FM, The Fan, Rochester.
You're back in the sports bar. It's Danger and Battaglia. Time for a round of shots.
So how big a challenge is this for RIT going up against BU? Well, the Terriers' top line centered by 17-year-old Macklin Celebrini. He's the projected number 1 overall pick in the 2024 NHL draft. The Tigers get the automatic bid to the NCAA tournament, defeating American International 5-2. Now, unlike basketball, there are only 16 teams that get in hockey, so RIT is just 2 wins away from a Frozen Four, but getting past the number 2 team in the country won't be easy, and if you do that, well, then your next opponent will either be Minnesota or Omaha. 5 o'clock Thursday, the puck drop from Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
No,
you've never been to Sioux Falls?
No, you know what? In all my years growing up in the Midwest, in the upper Midwest, up there, up north, up there on the Minnesota-North Dakota border, never made it to South Dakota.
Never once to look at the heads in stone there?
No, never went to South Dakota. Never went to... why am I blanking on what your
Mount Rushmore?
Mount Rushmore,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's your July. There's nothing going on in sports. Who's your Mount Rushmore? And blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've had those debates.
Yeah.
No, but and I imagine that's not an easy destination for anybody here in our neck of the woods in the Northeast, whether you're BU or RIT. But anything is possible, man. It is hockey, and there's a lot of variance from game to game. I wish they were playing Omaha or Minnesota first. BU is going to be tough.
I wish they were playing closer to home. I was thinking in the back of my mind, if it was in Springfield, Mass, Danger, just doing the show from Springfield, Mass on Thursday. You let me do that, right?
Maybe ESPN would have put RPI in Springfield, Mass instead of RIT.
ESPN. That was originally on the ESPN website. It was RPI, not RIT.
Clowns.
I don't know. They both begin with the letter R. They're both in upstate.
We kind of know where they are. We kind of heard of them.
Both smart kids. Yeah. Goaltender Michael Hauser. Hey, the House Cat won his first AHL game since October 28th. Amherst taking out Utica 4-1 on the special Bills Day promotion. Defenseman Jeremy Davies scoring twice for Rochester. While it looks like the Amherst simply held serve in the standings, 3 points ahead of the Marlies, instead of the Marlies having 2 games in hand, now they only have 1. This week features 2 games on the road, Wednesday at Syracuse, Saturday afternoon at Cleveland. We understand Seth Eppert's coming into the studio tomorrow.
Oh, there must be something special happening.
He has never been... Do we have to clean up here? Like, Seth is kind of...
He's going to be excited to see that we have the banner hanging up. Yeah.
No, we want the Calder Cup banner.
That's right. This banner's nice.
No.
But it's not... we shouldn't rest on our laurels. I saw some of what you were talking about from Bill's Day as well online yesterday as I was scrolling. What was the thing that I saw? I can't wait for the Bills to host an Amherst Day at Highmark Stadium.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say other than, do you not know how this works?
Did you not see people into it? I saw people literally on my feed that don't go to Amherst games that were Bills fans that, hey, it's a Sunday afternoon. I don't want to watch basketball. Let's go to the Amherst game. You sold tickets. Commerce, it's a good thing. And if people don't go to the games, you don't have a team. So, yeah, if you are that negative person.
I don't understand, man. I don't know. But it was a good turnout. Looked like it was a lot of fun. The jerseys raised some good funds for Golisano, so that's all good too.
I just thought though that because they couldn't use the Bills logo on the side of the helmet, did you see it looked like more like a moose?
Yeah, it did. It looked like a moose. It was a moose.
It was a moose. Yeah. We haven't talked about. Is this hilarious? We haven't mentioned the S word at all.
No, we haven't. Not once. And that's after a win.
They won.
Yeah, that's after a win. We still didn't mention the S word.
Tage Thompson did like Kermit the Frog. Yay! Tage Thompson with a golden assist, 4-1, the win over Calgary. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, 32 saves. Buffalo returning home for a 5-game homestand, which begins Wednesday night against Ottawa. Not even telling you how many points they're out.
Wednesday night against Ottawa feels like a loss.
Everything feels like a loss.
That one feels like a loss. Last night felt like a win. This feels like a loss.
Now, should I do this quote in Kim Mulkey voice or just kind of... I'll try Kim Mulkey voice.
Kim Mulkey voice is kind of like Brandon Beane voice.
Yeah.
A little bit of that southern, a little bit of that southern drawl and certainly a directness to it.
The quote, "We're not going to let one sleazy reporter distract us from what we're trying to do. Absolutely not."
Yeah.
No, that wasn't good. I apologize. Head coach Kim Mulkey says she's hired one of the top law firms in the country for libel. Mind you, the article hasn't even come out yet in the Washington Post. Award-winning Post reporter Kent Bob confirming the AP Saturday he's working on a profile of Mulkey, declining further comment. Round 2, Syracuse, 6 o'clock tonight against UConn. That's on ESPN, followed up by... Well, tonight you can watch Caitlin Clark. Danger, I don't want to watch Caitlin Clark. Iowa, 8 p.m. They take on the A seed.
I didn't say I don't want to watch Caitlin Clark. I said I don't know if I'm going to watch Caitlin Clark. I'm not vehemently against watching women's basketball, but I feel fairly confident that I can find something that might be more my speed.
I am going to be dialed in tonight, 6 o'clock, for a DH affair there.
Yeah.
I can be on the bandwagon. If you can be on the bandwagon for RIT hockey, I can be on the bandwagon.
Yeah, and all that said, I was flipping around on Saturday, and I saw Syracuse almost lose to Arizona. What's going on here? Ladies, let's pick it up a little bit. They get the win, they advance. UConn's not going to be easy.
What do you think the scene is out in Los Angeles? I keep refreshing my feed. Nothing has come across yet. 5:45 Eastern, supposedly the statement from Shohei Ohtani. But what was described as a press conference is going to be anything but here. It's just going to be Ohtani reading a statement that I'm sure his lawyers reviewed.
Yeah, and by the way, I think he's waiting for us to get off the air. He doesn't want the sports bar to be breaking any news from his prepared statement. So, yeah, just in time for us to get off the air at 6, we'll have all the news of what Shohei Ohtani is dishing out in that statement.
Do you remember this story about the bobbleheads for Shohei Ohtani? No, excuse me, for Jaromir Jagr being stolen?
Oh yeah, you had your tinfoil hat on that day. You said it was all part of the promotion. That they weren't really stolen. That they just kind of ended up that they're making it all up just to draw more interest to the Jagr bobblehead.
Well, the Penguins were notified last week that a special cargo recovery team negotiated the return of the stolen property to the secure warehouse location in Ontario, California. Okay, full stop right there. If it's stolen, you call the authorities and say, that's mine. What do you need to negotiate for? What is this, a hostage? What are you talking about?
Yeah, no,
the whole thing is
a promotion. This is a promotion. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, good. Justice has been served through our crack negotiator. We were able to get those bobbleheads, those stolen bobbleheads. No, we're not going to call the authorities. We're not going to call the authorities on this. We're going to negotiate with the criminals who stole our bobbleheads, if you want to call them criminals.
Finally, we told you about this. Which film are they? Sports film? Are they planning a sequel? Well, our Odyssey sister station, 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, host Anthony Lima had an actor on, and kind of just the story came out, I think accidentally. Actor's Christopher McDonald. Who is Christopher McDonald? Think. He played Shooter McGavin in the movie Happy Gilmore. McGavin dropped the nugget that in the works, Happy Gilmore 2. Couldn't say much more, and who knows if Adam Sandler actually wanted him to say anything, but this we do know. Well, some of the characters are no longer with us.
Right.
Carl Weathers just passed. He was Gilmore's caddy in that movie, and we lost Bob Barker at the age of 99 this past August.
Price is wrong, bitch. Can't do the movie without Carl Weathers. I'm sorry. Can't. No replacing him.
No.
Everything is off. Unless you want to do a Shooter McGavin spinoff where it's just about Shooter and Sandler's not a part of it. But no Carl Weathers, no Happy Gilmore sequel.
No, you'd have to come up with a new love interest. How do you even make this kind of...
The love interest in Happy Gilmore, if I'm not mistaken, ended up being the girl that's on Modern Family.
Modern Family, yeah.
Yeah, early stages of her career. And then it really took off there with Modern Family. All right, we've got to get to last call next at 866-4326. If you want to pull up a stool and join us, we give you the platform here as we close up shop. We'll get you set up for tomorrow afternoon in the sports bar as well. That's next. 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326.
You're listening to the Sports Bar with The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
All right, just a couple minutes here as we close up shop in the Sports Bar. We appreciate you stopping by. If you missed former RIT goaltender Mike Rotolo, who joined us in studio last hour, or the host of BetMGM tonight, Ryan Horvat, who stopped by during the 3 o'clock hour with Odyssey Rewind inside the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can go back and listen to any part of the show that you may have missed for the next 72 hours. If you're more of a podcast person, well, just search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your pods. You'll find all of our best material there, including our guest appearances. Danger here, Battaglia there, Shohei in L.A.
Yeah, so Shohei, this is through his interpreter reading this statement. I will read you his quotes, and then, Danger, you and everybody else can comment here. It's been a tough week for fans and the team officials. I'm grateful the media has been patient. I'm very saddened and shocked that someone I've trusted has done this. There are things I'm limited to talk about. I have a document that I will refer that will detail what has happened. I never bet on baseball or any other sport or ask someone to do that on my behalf. I've never gone through a bookmaker to bet on sports. Up until a few days ago, I didn't know this was happening. In conclusion, okay, I said I wasn't going to comment. That's what you do like when you're like in 7th grade, like what are wrapped up. In conclusion, iPay has been stealing money from my account and telling lies. Last weekend in Korea, media reached out to my camp inquiring about my potential involvement in sports betting. Okay.
So he's doubling down on my interpreter stole from me. He had a direct access to my accounts. He used my accounts to fund his losses.
Shohei, that's all good. But if you're lying, the way it works in our country, we don't forgive liars.
No, the cover-up is worse than the crime.
Correct.
Yeah, the cover-up is worse than the crime. I have a hard time believing that he's that oblivious to his money, but maybe it's because he has so much of it. How could he possibly know that all of a sudden $5 million is gone because his interpreter is stealing from him? If it's true, I don't know that I believe him. But it's not up to me. It's not up to you. And you're right. The cover-up is worse than the crime. If everything he's saying right now is lip service and the truth does come out that he is betting on sports, he's done. Not in terms of his career, his future, but nobody will ever view him through the same lens ever again. He's a liar. A liar and a cheat. Kind of fits the profile of a lot of baseball players now that I think about it. Lots of liars and cheaters in baseball.
You're going to upset baseball writer.
I'm sorry.
Here, as we're only 72 hours away, Mike Danger.
All right, this is not the story that baseball writer wants to be reporting on here.
No.
The great American tradition about to get underway here later on this week. Well, I'm sure we'll have plenty of reaction to that statement when we return tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock for another episode of the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia. Tuesday means we'll talk to Matt Perino, who I believe is at the owners' meetings, is he not?
Yes, so hopefully this time's out right tomorrow. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, and in studio, Rochester Americans head coach Seth Appert to stop by.
That must mean something special is happening.
I'm guessing that would be the case.
Something special must be happening if Amherst head coach Seth Appert is going to stop by in person for his weekly visit into the Sports Bar.
Well, look, he should feel good. Team got the job done this week.
For sure. We'll all be in good spirits. I'm sure, tomorrow when Coach Appert stops by. Appreciate you listening. JR Sport Brief on the way next here on the Fan Rochester.